Welcome back to the Seek and Share Truth Conference here in Ohio and online. Shout out to you people. All of you are awesome. Thank you for being here. Beautiful people created in the image of God, and we appreciate you taking the time to spend this time with us to seek and share truth together better. So I'm super excited today. We have multiple different worldviews gathered together, and I'm excited to hear them challenged. And ultimately, we desire for everyone to know the truth. And we know that in the Bible, God talks about when you seek me, you'll find me. When you seek me with all your heart and call upon the Lord your God, and I'll show you great and wonderful things you've not yet known. So may God reveal himself and show the truth, and deception be destroyed. So with that being said, we're going to open up with prayer, and then we'll pass it over with introductions. But as a reminder, there are differing opinions, and it's awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being respectful with one another. Of course, we want to let the debaters do the debating. We'll have Q&A. We're excited to do that so that people can ask their questions. And with that being said, I'm El of Eli, so Elohim, and my husband, your brother in Christ.
So like she said, I am Eric. I run Your Brother in Christ on YouTube, and let's have an attitude of prayer. Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for the opportunity to be here together. Thank you for the opportunity to hear the truth. Please open our ears to hear it, open our eyes to see it, and open our hearts to receive it. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. And with that being said, thank you very much, James, Dr. James Coons of Modern Day Debate. We really appreciate you being here and helping us out with this. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Sorry about that, Eric. Thank you very much. I am thrilled to be here, and we're going to jump right into this debate on whether or not the Bible promotes polygamy. First, I want to remind you, if you can please silence your phones so there are no distractions during the debate. And also, as Al mentioned, it's good to have high energy, but we want to let the debaters do the debating, so please refrain from shouting. With that, I'm going to introduce first, Captain Tazaryach is a teacher and debater representing the Hebrew Israelite tradition, known for defending the movement's interpretation of Scripture and engaging in public theological debates. Please join me in welcoming Captain Tazaryach.
Thank you.
And taking the negative position, Mike Jones leads the Christian apologetics ministry known as Inspiring Philosophy, which has over 500,000 subscribers. He has debated prominent skeptics, including Dr. Lawrence Krauss, Dr. Michael Shermer, and Dr. Richard Carrier. Please join me in welcoming Mike Jones. With that, I have the timer set for you. Captain Tazaryach, the floor is all yours for your 10-minute opening.
Yeah. I think it turned off again, yeah. No, you got to aim it at that thing, yeah. It's fickle, so let Elle handle it. It can be kind of ridiculous. Yeah, it turns off after like 30 seconds. There it goes. Oh, there it goes. Oh.
And
Yep, you're good. It's up there.
It's up there now?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all could see, I should stay down here then, right? That make sense?
I think you'd be able to see pretty well.
Can y'all see if I'm up here?
They might have to just lean a little bit.
What you want to do?
You just sit down. I'll just sit. I'll sit too. It's fine.
I say that.
I'm comfortable. I'll just stay here.
All right. I'm gonna sit here. Let me just see if I can make it bigger.
Just hit play. Go into the...
Yeah, I'm not an expert at it. Where you see play?
If you look down at the bottom right, you'll see
from
that.
beginning. Yep.
That works.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yep, there you go.
And then as long as you can hold the mic close.
Oh yeah. I was just making sure I had. Make sure I got testing 1 2. They good? Testing. Testing. We good to go? All right. Back like I never left, right? Birdman hands rubbing together. Does the Bible promote polygamy? My position is yes, it does. This first image is just a very simple image. Abraham and the Israelite men who had multiple wives. You have Abraham, Jacob, Elkanah, Gideon, David, etc. Just want to highlight this. The law regulated polygamy, so monogamy was not the only option.
Just hold the mic a little bit closer.
A little bit closer?
Yep.
Okay, let me see. What about now? Yeah, damn. What about now? It keeps dropping. Let me see if I can tighten it up just a little bit so it doesn't move. All right, what about now? Can I get 15 seconds back? Thank you. So the law regulated polygamy, which is how you know it was promoted, not monogamy as the only option. And this is not something that is an Israelite culture. This is just a culture that everybody had. It wasn't until the Romans came and implemented marriage as a contract that the Christian church would then regulate marriage as only one man, one woman. All right? I'm going to go to the next slide. It says, if by promote you mean commands everyone to practice it, then no. There is no command requiring men to have multiple wives. If by promote you mean permits and regulate it as a lawful form of marriage, then yes, especially in the Old Testament, that is my permission, that is my position, as well as the New Testament. The promote is by regulating it as a lawful form of marriage. Biblically, promotion means divine elevation, increased responsibility, and being honored or raised in rank by God rather than human ambition, as noted in resources like Bible Hub, which I went and put the source here. So this is where I got the definition from, the promotion of it. So the increased responsibility, because getting a wife is responsible, whether you have one wife or whether you have many. In 1 Timothy 4:1, it says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and the doctrine of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with an hot iron, forbidding to marry. That's what I believe the Christian church is implementing, the idea of a man, forbidding a man to have more than one wife, which is really weird, because what we'll find out is that the Christian church is the front runners of monogamy, but also the front runners of divorce and adultery, which is crazy work. Which, if they was allowed to share their man and share their woman, share their man and just be honest, maybe life would be a better place. That's been my experience. Since I just tell the truth to women, I don't really have those problems. Exodus 21:10, when we talk about promoting and regulating, and this is God's law. So in Exodus 21:10, when it says, if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. So now that means if you have a first wife and you was to gather a second wife, you don't diminish the first wife because of the second wife. That's what it's saying. Now, a wife can be diminished by things that they do, but it can't be diminished just because you have another woman. So if there's a law to regulate it, you can't say it's not promoting. Deuteronomy 21:15. If a man have two wives, one beloved, another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be the ones that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his son to inherit that which he had, he may not choose the one that he loved over the one that he hate. Again, regulating the promotion. This is very, very simple. Now we have, that's the second law that's regulating marriage. Deuteronomy 21:25-5 says, if brethren dwell together. So if I have a brother, he passed away last year. He had sons though. But if my brother, when he passed away, didn't have no child, the wife of the unalived shall not marry unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife. Again, responsibility and promotion. So now, if that if that brother has a wife, he still would take this wife, a woman as a wife, to raise up seed to perform the husbandly duty. So it's hard to convince me that a man cannot have more than one wife when there's laws that are regulating a man having more than one wife, controlling what he does with his children, controlling what he does with the woman, and being very careful about it. In Mark the 10th chapter, well, I don't want to do that one yet. I want to go to Deuteronomy 17:17. It says, neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. This is not getting rid of polygamy. This is getting rid of marrying a woman and valuing her more than the Most High. It's because the rest of the verse says, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Why is that important? Silver and gold would today be money. So you shouldn't multiply money to yourself that it turns your heart away, nor women. And you see examples of that in 1 Kings, the 11th chapter, when Solomon, who had many wives, and when he got old, his wives turned his heart away after other gods. That's what Deuteronomy 17 is warning you about. In 2 Samuel 11:3, David committed adultery. That's what you cannot do. You cannot be an adulterer. He inquired of the woman Bathsheba, who was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. He laid with her, and when he got her pregnant, he had he had Uriah unalive. Nobody did anything. And then it was Nathan the prophet that came to David. And it's interesting what God said. In 2 Samuel 12:7, it says, and Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee unto thy master's house, and thy master's wife into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel. And if it had been too little, I would have given you more. So if that wife was too little, I would have given you more wives. Why is God saying he would have gave David more wives? Because he committed adultery with another man's wife, and God saying, I would have gave you more wives if that's what you wanted. So if the Bible does not promote polygamy, why would God even be saying that he's with polygamy? In Isaiah 4:1, it says, in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name. Now we have a future prophecy of 7 women taking hold of one man just to be called by his name. Matthew's the 25th chapter, verse. Christ says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took their lamp to go forth to meet the bridegroom. We all know this is a parable. The bridegroom is Christ. The virgins represent us. But he's using a parable of a man marrying 10 women. And out of those 10 women, he married 5. So how could the Bible be against polygamy when they liken in the kingdom of heaven to a polygamous marriage? One of the subjects I want to go into is in Mark the 10th chapter, because this is usually where they go when it talks about the Pharisees. When the Pharisees, in Mark 10:2, the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife, tempting him? And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your heart, he wrote this precept. This subject is not about monogamy or polygamy. This subject is only about divorce. What the Christians would do is try to make this about monogamy or make it a mandate, because that's their hidden agenda. But let's keep reading. It says, but from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this cause shall man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So they are no more twain, but one flesh. What God have joined together, let not man put asunder. Being one flesh is not talking about sex. That's not the subject. The subject of being one flesh is talking about being on one accord. An example of that is in John 17:21, is when Christ says that they may all be one as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they may also be one in us. Say again.
20 seconds.
That they may also be one in us, that the world have sent me. So you cannot make this be about anything other than divorce, because that was the subject of the conversation. With that, I'll land.
Thank you very much for that opening statement. We'll kick it over to Mike for his 10-minute opening as well.
All right. Testing. That sound good, James?
Say maybe one more test.
Test. That better?
That's good.
All right. Thank you, James. Thank you, Cap. Good to see you again, man. Welcome to my world of debating. We're not on the streets anymore now. All right. The question before us is, does the Bible promote polygamy? And the answer is clearly no. In fact, I'm going to make a bold claim. The Torah actually outlaws polygamy explicitly in one verse, which we often miss. Now, he brought up that many in the Hebrew Bible, many in the Hebrew Bible had multiple wives, but anytime polygamy comes up in the Bible, it is portrayed in a negative light. The Bible tolerates polygamy, at times, but tolerating polygamy is not the same as promoting it. For example, the U.S. government allows smoking while explicitly discouraging it at every turn. Okay, similarly, the Bible allows divorce while discouraging it. Okay, it does not promote divorce at all. In fact, the Bible treats polygamy and divorce very similar. These practices were tolerated or allowed due to the sinful nature of humanity, but the Bible speaks very strongly against them. In fact, it explicitly prescribes monogamy and outlaws polygamy. First, in Genesis 2:24, it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." This is God's only ever prescription for marriage, and Gordon Wenham says, "Indeed, the narrator declares that this is the pattern for every marriage. For this reason, a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife." So this is very clearly the pattern. Now, polygamy is outlawed in the Bible. In Leviticus 18:18, it is translated as, "And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister, uncovering her nakedness while her sister is still alive." Now, most people assume this refers to outlawing a man marrying two sisters, but that's not what it says in the Hebrew. And since I'm debating a black Hebrew Israelite, we should focus on the Hebrew. Scholars like Angelo Tazaryach, Richard M. Davidson, and J. Sklar have argued this verse actually is using an idiom. It literally says in the Hebrew, "a woman to her sister." This phrase, along with the masculine phrase, "a man to his brother," is never used to mean a biological sibling. Okay? It is used to simply mean one in addition to another. We can see this in Exodus 26, verse 3. It says, "5 curtains shall be coupled to one another." Okay? This is the exact same phrase in Leviticus 18:18, and as you can see, it means another, and not a literal sister. It's used again in verses 5, 6, and 17. Ezekiel 1:9 says, "Their wings touch one another." So again, you see this as well there. Same phrase. Angelo Tazaryach adds that the Qumran community, okay, they understood Leviticus 18:18 as outlawing polygamy and not merely outlawing marrying two sisters. Richard M. Davidson says, consistent with usage elsewhere in Scripture, Leviticus 18:18 should be taken idiomatically and distributively as referring to one wife in addition to another and not literal sisters. Tazaryach adds the justification for not taking another wife is provided in the verse itself. It refers to them becoming rivals. But women in general can become rivals regardless of whether they are biologically related or not. Therefore, this also supports the rendering that it refers to women in general and not merely biological sisters. He says the harm which the law wants avoided is such that any woman is capable of causing it once taken as a second wife, whether in a bigamous marriage or in a monogamous marriage after the dissolution of a previous marriage through divorce. Combining this with Genesis 2:24, we can see that God prescribes monogamy and outlaws polygamy. That's it. Game over. Polygamy is outlawed in the Bible. Now, sometimes proponents will bring up the fact that the Torah has laws that regulate polygamy. God has stipulated divorce. But it's clear from reading Genesis 2 and Matthew 19 that he rejects divorce. Now, first, it can be argued some of the verses he brought up are actually translated poorly and are not even about polygamy, which I'll get to later. But let's set that aside for now, okay? Merely having laws that regulate a practice doesn't mean it's endorsing or promoting it. Again, the U.S. government discourages gambling while having laws that regulate gambling, okay? The laws are not there to promote gambling, but merely recognize it's a cultural practice that cannot be done away with without removing free will, and they're attempting to minimize the damage. Likewise, when God is allowing divorce, it's not because he's endorsing the practice, but recognizing it cannot be done away with without removing our free will. So he puts stipulations in the Torah to minimize the effects. When it comes to polygamy, notice that in the Torah, none of the laws are there to benefit the men, but to minimize the damage done to wives and offspring, because it's a very damaging practice. So that's the issue there. Gordon Wenham says the same stance is taken in the laws regulating marriage. The one law dealing with bigamy is concerned to limit the animosity generated by a bigamous relationship. While clearly the law tolerates bigamy, such a regulation shows it does not recommend it. That's his reading of it. The New Testament also only ever prescribes monogamy. In Matthew 19, Jesus, when speaking about divorce, true, he reiterates what is prescribed in Genesis 2, that marriage is between one man and one woman. But he goes further in what he says about divorce. Robert W. Wall says Matthew's Jesus subordinates this interpretation to his own, thus using the same biblical text to authorize monogamous relationships rather than polygamous ones as God's ideal. Back to Gordon Wenham. He says, it follows that if Jesus is condemning second unions after divorce, he must also be rejecting second unions before divorce. In other words, he's outlawing polygamy as well, which would also be contrary to true equality between spouses. In 1 Corinthians 7, Paul adds that because of the temptation of sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. Okay? The husband should give his wife her conjugal rights, likewise the wife to the husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does, and likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. In other words, if you want to have sex, according to the Bible, it must be through a monogamous marriage. Now, he brought up Exodus, that's the end of my slides. Now, he brought up Exodus 21:10, but the context is not about polygamy. It's about having a slave girl and deciding not to marry her. Richard Davison says, basically it's saying, if the master rejects her as a wife, she is not to be freed by being redeemed. Or if the master's son marries her, she is to be treated as the master's daughter. And if the master marries a different woman than her, she is to be assured of her basic necessities. In other words, it's not even about a polygamous marriage. It's about this slave girl. Can the master choose to marry her? Yeah. If he doesn't, then the son can. If he doesn't, he marries another, he still has to provide for her. That's what the context is about. It's not even about polygamy. Let's see here. He also brought up Deuteronomy 21:15. If a man takes two wives. But Walter Kaiser points out the verse doesn't say that he has them at the same time. If a man marries a woman, she dies, and he marries another, you could speak of him as having two wives. And the verse is, again, not about polygamy. It's about caring for offspring. He cannot reject the one of the wife he liked less. So again, not even necessarily about polygamy. Now, even if it is, it's important to point out that at best it would just be talking about two wives. But again, it's not even saying you can do that. It's not saying you can have those wives. It's just talking about a situation. In the culture, if this happens, what should he do? If you combine that with what Leviticus 18:18 says, you can see God is rejecting polygamy outright. He brought up the Levite marriage, but again, Davidson, read it in context. It says when two brothers dwell together, okay? This means they are of the same household and they're not both married. It doesn't say the brother comes from his other household. He's still under either his eldest brother or the father at that point. So this is not endorsing polygamy either. He brought up 2 Samuel 12 where it says that God gave David Saul's wives, but he doesn't say they became David's wives. Davidson, again, in his book, Flame of Yahweh, says, it is more likely that the phrase into your bosom, which applies to Saul's house, as well as his women, does not speak of marriage, but simply indicates that all of Saul's estate came under David's care and keeping. In other words, this is just saying that David now controls Saul's estate, including the women, which were valuable. They were royal women. You can have them go marry a governor or a general or another king to make marriage alliances. It is not at all saying that he married them and they were his wives. He brought up Isaiah 4:1, but scholars agree this is a depiction of a tragic social crisis. This is not an endorsement at all. He brought up Matthew 25 about the bridesmaids. That's not about brides. That's very clear. In the ancient cultural context, the bridesmaids would carry lamps, and they go meet the groom as part of the wedding party, and then bring them to the bride. They're not all brides. That's absurd. Doesn't follow at all. So as you can see, the Bible clearly outlaws polygamy in Leviticus 18:18. Never endorses it, never prescribes it, always speaks negatively. We can go through any story in the Bible. I'm more than willing to, and it's either going to talk about polygamy in a neutral light or it's going to talk about it in a negative light. But it doesn't matter. We see the law in Leviticus 18:18 using that idiomatic expression. You can see how it's used in Ezekiel, Exodus. It's just used to refer to one to another. And with that, I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. And this format will be a little bit different. So we have 5-minute rebuttals, and then we'll have cross exams. We're ready for you, Captain Tazaryach.
Give me 1 second. And okay, I'm ready now. In Leviticus, well, first of all, there's a word called rigmarole, which means a long, complicated, annoying procedure, a set of confusion, meaningless talk. That's what I felt I just went through listening to my friend IP speak, or my combatant rather, IP speak. In Leviticus 18:18, when it says, "Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex," that's in direct correlation to the vexation that took place between Rachel and Leah. Even though Rachel and Leah had no problem sharing their man with other women. Rachel gave Bilhah, Leah gave Zilpah. So those women had no problem giving their man another woman, which is what the meaning of one flesh means. One flesh is not talking about what you have physically. It's always talking about what you have spiritually. He mentioned Matthew 19:19 when it says, I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife except to be for fornication and shall marry another committeth adultery. That does not mean that if he keeps that current wife and gets another wife, that's adultery. That's him and whatever them commentators said imparting what they want onto the text because they want to push that concept. And here's the crazy part. Christ is saying you can't put away your wife except for adultery. But the leading religion in divorce are Christians at 66%. And I guarantee most of it is not for adultery. So the very people that say you cannot divorce or say that they believe in Christ are divorcing at the highest rate. Whereas Israelites, we don't push divorce except it be for adultery. He referenced 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. In 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, when it says, let every man have their own, every woman have their own husband. When you go to 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, you find out that the reason why Paul is writing that is because a son is sleeping with his father's wife, which begs the question, is that his father's, is that his mother? It doesn't say it's his mother. So is it his father's second wife that he's sleeping with? We know that that's not far-fetched to believe because Reuben slept with his father's wife that was also not his mother. So you cannot say that the fornication in 1 Corinthians is talking about having more than one woman when the fornication is clearly this son sleeping with his father's wife. There is not going to be one verse in the Bible that he can find that outlaws monogamy. He said Leviticus 18:18, polygamy. He said Leviticus 18:18 outlaws it, but that's just not true because when there's something that's unlawful, it just says it. And if the Bible regulates polygamy, then it's promoting it because of the responsibility that comes with it. In Ezekiel, the 25th chapter, Ezekiel had one wife, 24th chapter, I'm sorry. In Ezekiel 24th chapter, starting at verse 15, Ezekiel had the wife that was the desire of his eye, and the Lord unalived her because that was the desire of his eye. That's an example of Deuteronomy 17:17, and it says, Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eyes with a stroke, yet neither shall thou mourn nor weep, neither shall tears run down. Forbear not to cry, nor mourning for the dead. Bind the tire upon thy head, put thy shoes upon thy feet and thy lips. Verse 18, so I spake to the people in the morning, and at even my wife died. He had one wife, but yet that was the desire of his eyes. That's what Deuteronomy 17:17 is talking about. When you get one wife, that's a multiplication. Because now there's two. There's you and her. And you can't let that one wife do it. So my opponent has not read any single verse in the Bible, in the Old or New Testament, that's against polygamy at all. What he did was try to say, you got to read this in the Hebrew. Matthew 19 said this is adultery, so that means getting two wives is adultery. But you're not going to show me anywhere in the Bible getting two women is adultery. With that, I'll end the rest of my time.
Thank you very much as well. We'll kick it over to Mike for his 5-minute rebuttal.
All right. Thank you, Cap. Appreciate that. So he says there's no place in the Bible that outlaws polygamy. It sounds like this is the first he's heard of this argument, which is unfortunate because scholars have been making this argument for decades now. Decades. If you just understand Leviticus 18:18 in the Hebrew, it is outlawing polygamy. So he says, for example, if the Bible outlaws something, it would just say it. Yeah, Leviticus 18:18. Again, you just read it as literally as possible. It says, and a woman to her sister, not shall you take as a rival to uncover her nakedness beside her in her life. Again, look up the phrase, woman to her sister. Anytime that shows up in the Bible, it's about 10 times. It always just means another, not a literal sister. Therefore, the Bible is explicitly outlawing polygamy. Now he says, well, what about it regulating it? Okay, again, those verses are not explicitly allowing it. He brought up a verse in Deuteronomy. It just says, if a man has two wives. How does he know they're at the same time? It's just because the law is about how you care for offspring. And even if it is, it's just stating it as a fact. And I want to press him on that in the cross-examination because there's a lot more context about that we'll get to. So we brought up Rachel and Leah. Yeah, that was not good. In fact, if you actually read the story, it's very interesting. Jacob talks about his wives, and then when he wrestles with God, things change. After that, he only says Rachel is his wife. And if you go, for example, to Genesis 46, everyone. It only says Rachel is the wife, and it just says Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah are those who bore children to him. The narrator is saying that only Rachel's the wife because the path forward is monogamy. Okay, what happened to Jacob and what he engaged in was sinful and wrong. The patriarchs were not perfect. We're not supposed to look at them as our moral exemplars, that's for sure. He brought up Matthew 19, but again, what does it say? Okay, first of all, it goes back to the creation account. A man shall leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Then what does he say after that? If you divorce and marry another, it is adultery. Why? Put them together. You are one flesh. If marrying another is adultery, because you're one flesh, marrying another before divorce would also be adultery. This is pretty clear according to scholars. This is pretty clear according to church fathers. So he said we divorce at high rates. This is irrelevant to the debate. The debate is about what the Bible is teaching, and the Bible clearly outlaws polygamy. It is not promoting it whatsoever, and he's not given really any verses that actually show it's promoting it. He brought up 1 Corinthians 7 and said the context is 1 Corinthians 5. What? No. Okay, so it talks about the man who is sleeping with his father's wife. It never says that's his mother. The mother could have died and he just remarried. Women died often in the ancient world due to high rates in death from childbirth, so that was pretty common. It's probably what happened. And even if it was the case this guy was polygamous, which is very unlikely because as he acknowledged in ancient Roman Empire, there was no polygamy. That's the Romans didn't permit that. So that's very, very unlikely according to the cultural context. But even if he's some rare exception, in no way is Paul endorsing that practice. In no way. What are you talking about? He's just saying this evil person is sleeping with his father's wife. That's bad. Get him out of the church. He's not saying, but that father's great who has two wives. That's absurd. That's not at all what it says. Talk about going to a vague passage. Nothing there. There is nothing in the Bible which promotes or allows polygamy. It's sometimes, at best, it's tolerated because God is merciful to people like David or Abraham or Jacob, but it never allows it. It explicitly outlaws it in the Torah. This is what this is. If I'm wrong, it's very easy. Show me one place the idiom, a woman to her sister, actually means a biological sister. If it did, it would use the Hebrew word for and, a woman and her sister. Since it says a woman to her sister, we can see how that's used in Exodus and Ezekiel. It means an idiom meaning just another. I showed you the verses. It clearly just means another. It does not mean a biological sibling. Therefore, the verse is explicitly outlawing polygamy, saying you cannot marry a woman and another. Game over at that point. And if you just look at the context before and after, Davidson, Tasato show that even supports it further. If he wants to press me on that, I'm more than willing to go into it. But you can read more about that in the sources I mentioned. But I'll yield the rest of my time. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that rebuttal. So the next section will be cross-examinations. You'll each have 15 minutes to ask the other questions. For this, we want it to be just questions because you guys have dialogue after this.
Gotcha.
And for the person answering, we want it to be just answers instead of returning questions.
I'll do my best.
I'll do my best too. That's hard. I think we would agree to that. I go first, I'm assuming?
Yep, we're ready for you.
Okay. In 1 Corinthians 7, you said that it's not talking about 1 Corinthians 5, correct?
There doesn't seem to be the context, no.
So in 1 Corinthians 5, when it says, it is reported commonly among you that there is fornication among you, such fornication as is not such named among the Gentiles. We agree that Paul is addressing this city in Corinth about fornication.
Yeah, he's talking generally about a ton of fornication happening, which is wrong, yeah.
Actually, it says that one should have his father's wife, so I think it would be specific, correct?
What verse are you referring to?
1 Corinthians 5:1.
5:1. Oh, 5:1. I thought you were talking about 7 then. Okay, 5:1, yeah.
In 1 Corinthians 5:1, it says, it is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, as such fornication as is not so much named among the Gentiles that one should have his father's wife. So it's specific about the fornication, correct?
It's specific about that case, yeah.
Thank you. Verse 2, and ye are puffed up and have not rather mourned that he have done this deed might be taken away from you. Is Paul saying that they are puffed up, meaning they're not doing anything about it? We would agree, right?
You're arrogant. Ought you not rather to mourn? Let him who has done this be removed from among you.
Right. So, and it goes further in verse 5. It says to deliver such a one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh. So in 1 Corinthians 7, now concerning the things thereof ye wrote unto me, wouldn't that be about the the son sleeping with his father's wife?
No, because if you read the full verse, it says, now concerning the matters about which you wrote, is it good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman? So this is
specifically... The question I
specifically...
asked you was, when he says, concerning the things thereof which he wrote unto me, wouldn't that also be about what they wrote about that man sleeping with his father's wife?
It doesn't say that in the verse. It says, they're asking specifically about the question, is it good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman? So they're asking about if you should abstain from sex entirely. And he's like, no, sexual temptation.
He didn't say abstain. He didn't say.
That's what it says.
When he says it is good for a man not to touch a woman, because these men are not touching their own women, they're touching other men's women specifically.
Where does it say that in 7?
In chapter 5, it tells you directly that their son is sleeping with his father's wife, and they're glorying in it. That's why he's saying it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So in verse 2, when it says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, does he not call the fornication in 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, what that son did with his father's wife?
He calls it fornication, yeah.
Thank you. So that's the fornication that he's talking about. He's not talking about a man having more than one wife. On the subject of adultery, in Matthew's you did Matthew's the 19th chapter. I think I did Matthew's I think I did Mark. In Matthew's the 19th chapter, it says, I say, whosoever shall put away his wife except it be for fornication and marry another, committeth adultery. Does it say anywhere in this text that if you marry another woman, you commit adultery?
Does it say Mark 10?
No, I went to the verse you used, Matthew 19.
Matthew 19,
yeah, I went to Matthew 19 and 9.
Matthew 19 and 9, yeah. Okay.
It says, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife except it be fornication and marry another, committeth adultery. Does it say if you get another woman, you commit adultery?
It literally says if you marry another, you commit adultery, yeah.
If you put, it says, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be fornication and marry another. That's the criteria. If you put away your wife and then marry another woman, you commit adultery. That's what it's saying, correct?
It says, yeah, if you put her away. Hold up, let me answer. Come on, calm down. Calm down. All right, I got this. Okay. All right, so yeah, if you put her away and you marry another, that's adultery because you're one flesh. Okay?
Wait.
Yeah, it's Gordon Wenham says that means if you do it without divorcing, you're still violating the one flesh contract.
But it doesn't say if you keep that woman and marry another, you committed adultery. Where does it say that at?
It doesn't say that. It's what
I know it don't say that. And
you're reading that into the text. It doesn't say it.
No, I'm not reading anything. You said that your scholars said when Christ made this statement, he's saying that. That's what you said. You read something into the text that's not in the text. That text says if you put away your wife and marry another, that's adultery.
Ideally in the form of a question, though.
Yeah, let's get a question here.
I thought this was my cross-examination.
It is, but so if it's a set...
I'm responding to his answer.
Oh, well... To be strict, because we'll have the dialogue right after this section where you guys
should have 60 minutes of dialogue.
This is
okay. No sweat. So I get what you're saying. So to end on this note, he read into the text that this means you can't marry another. Christ is specific that this is about a man if he puts away his wife and marry another, not what he interjected in the text.
Is there a question?
I need you to put it in the form of a question, though.
I just said. I was trying to just end that part.
I know, but usually to be like, because we're like super, I assumed you guys wanted super formal because we'll have the dialogue after.
Okay.
So that's why
I can't get mad at you. You're right. I'm wrong.
But no, I'll press Mike the same way.
We'll see. No, I'm joking. So you also made a point in Leviticus, the 18th chapter.
Yep.
It says in 18 and 1.
18 and 18.
No. The question I want to ask you.
Okay.
In Leviticus 18 and 3, it says, after the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, ye shall not do. Correct?
You said verse 3?
Yeah, verse 3.
Verse 3. Let me just read that here. Where you live, you shall not do as they did in the land of Egypt, where you lived, and you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan, to which I am bringing you in. You shall not walk in their statutes.
Right.
Okay,
so we agree. we agree that it's talking about not doing after these nations, correct?
Correct. Don't do what the nations are doing, yeah.
Right. And so uncovering the nakedness of thy father and mother, we would agree that that's talking about sex, correct?
And it's talking about incest, yeah.
Right. Verse 9 says, the nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, is talking about not having sex with them, right? The nakedness of thy son's daughters talk about not having sex with them, right?
Yep.
So in verse 18, with this commentary, when it says, neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex, if it was about not getting another wife, period, why doesn't it just say that when it can just clearly say that the same way it's saying, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of this, the nakedness of that? It's clear when it says, don't take a wife to sister to vex, because, and second two-part question you to answer, this is in reference to Rachel and Leah as well. Those are
So
two
let me just answer you in full here. So as scholars have pointed out, verse 18 should not be going with the prior verses. It's actually with the preceding verses about just general sexual outlawing things. And it does explicitly say that. Again, that's what that means, another. Woman to her sister just means another. It's the feminine form. So and again, it's actually different. It's not actually set up in the same way in the Hebrew with the preceding clauses. It opens differently in the Hebrew. So it's actually different. And again, notice the prior verse. It says, you cannot uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, and you shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover their nakedness, for they are relatives. It is depravity. Okay, so you cannot marry a woman and her daughter. Okay, very clear, because they're relatives. So you should see the same thing in the verse 18. They're relatives. It doesn't say that. So it's actually a completely different thing. It just means another. It's not an incest law. It goes with the following verses. Excuse me.
I would have to say you just don't understand it, so I'll try one more time.
All right, good luck.
Well, you didn't answer the latter part about was this in reference to Rachel and Leah? You didn't answer that part.
No, it's not alluding to it. No.
So the vexing her is not in reference to Rachel and Leah.
No, there doesn't say that either. There's nothing in the context.
Okay, was Rachel and Leah vexed by them both being married to Jacob?
Yeah, there was a lot of strife between them. Yeah.
So then, as I stated, it is written because of that. And
No, it doesn't say that.
And it's important to understand that, because you made a point to say that God regulated polygamy, but he didn't want polygamy, correct?
It's possible, but it seems as though those verses don't actually even suggest that. The ones the two you brought up.
And the ones that I brought up in Deuteronomy 21 and 25, if a man have two wives, how many wives does it have according to the Bible?
He would have two throughout his lifetime.
It doesn't say lifetime. You're reading that into
And it doesn't
the text.
also say at the same time either.
How many does it say? I didn't ask you how many does it say he has at that time. I just asked you how many does it says he has.
It would say in that position he would have two, yeah.
And one beloved and one hated, right?
Correct.
So could they exist at the same time?
There's nothing in the context that suggests that, so we can't say.
Could they not exist at the same time?
Could they would not exist at the same time?
Yeah.
Nothing in the context. It's just very vague.
Right. So all we have to go with is that a man has two wives, right?
Yeah.
So then that is promotion.
Where does it say that you can do this?
It says it right here. By regulating, if a man has two wives and gotten, the beautiful part about the Most High, knowing the nature, I won't be long-winded, I promise. The beautiful part about God and knowing man's nature, he's regulating what a man can do, because if you leave it up to the man, he'll deal with the one that he loves the most. Yeah. And what God removed was you loving one more than the other.
I hate to do it, but just to be really strict on the cross-examination.
So I can't respond to his question, just to be clear?
Usually cross-exams, doing it in the formal way is
just
really
whatever
just,
answer
you're
he
just
gives?
you're just trying to nail him down with questions.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Deuteronomy 25 and 5. If a brethren dwell together, does that mean that the brethren does not have an existing wife?
No, they would be dwelling together, so no.
You're saying they don't have an existing wife?
The first one would. He dies, yeah.
No, before they die.
Before he dies, so the older brother, or the one brother, would have a wife. He dies. If they're dwelling together, though, no, the brother who then
right. So when the 70 souls went into Egypt, were they dwelling together?
Wait, the 70 souls?
I thought you knew the Bible.
Not necessarily, no, because they had different tents.
That is dwelling. That's what dwelling together is.
They're in the same community, okay, but they're not dwelling in the same house.
That is dwelling together.
Not in the same house.
In Psalms 144, when it says how beautiful it is for brethren to dwell together, you're familiar with that scripture, yes?
Yeah, it's just,
Right.
What about it?
They don't live in the same house.
Yeah, exactly. They don't
Right.
live in the same
but
house.
But
Exactly.
it does say that they dwell together.
All right.
So I know, all right. So the dwelling together has nothing to do with living in the same house, correct?
Yeah, that's my point. You're making the point for me.
No, no,
They're
no.
not in the
you
same
just
household.
you just admitted when it's in the Psalms when it says how beautiful. Well, let me phrase it in a question. In the Psalms, does it say that the brethren dwell together? How beautiful that is.
All right, so now let me answer you now. So the psalm is being very poetic in how it's doing. I could say we dwell together. That's not the you have to look at the context. The law of levirate marriage is clearly about two brothers living under the same
I'm not
household.
even talking about levirate marriage right now. I'm trying to get you to understand what dwell together means because you don't. So in Psalms 133, it says how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity, correct?
Yeah, so.
So it is not talking about living together. It's talking about being in one.
Yeah, there's different ways you can talk about dwelling. So what?
So in Deuteronomy 25, it is not saying that they live together. It's saying that they're around each other. And if he has a wife and that wife, he dies without producing seed, whether the brother has a wife or not, he has to go in unto her. That's the duty, correct?
So the question, of course, is what is the word? It's yasab.
I was off the word now. I'm asking a different question.
So what is the question then?
Thank you. The question was whether the man lives in the same hut or is away from him, but in the community. If the brother dies without her having a son, it's his duty to lay with her and take her as a wife, correct?
As long as he's not married, yeah, because you have to.
Where does it
Leviticus
say
18.
in the verse as long as he's not married?
If you're following all the Torah, yeah, it would follow.
Where in the verse does it say as long as he's not married?
If you're following all of the Torah, it would imply that you can't do it if you're
Where
married.
in the Bible does it say that? I'm just simply asking.
Just told you, Leviticus
Read
18,
the verse.
18.
Give me the verse that says as long as he don't have a wife, he can do it.
I told you already.
No, give
Leviticus
me-
18:18. You
How
cannot
does
have two
Levit-
wives.
So you're saying that Leviticus 18 and 18 cancels out the law of a brother?
No, it doesn't cancel it out. This is for.
You
this
just
is, hold on,
said
Let
that-
me answer now. Let me answer. Calm down. Calm down.
I'm not.
Okay.
Hey, man,
These are very specific.
I'm trying to
things.
only ask questions now. He said I can't
Yeah.
talk.
Now let me answer you now. Okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. So. The law assumes exceptions. For example, in Genesis, when this is going out with, I believe it's Judah and Tamar, that whole story, the brother is too young, so he has to wait. The Torah assumes exceptions to this. This is not an end-all, be-all clause if this happens.
He's not answering the question, ladies and
What if
gentlemen.
it's an only child who dies? What are you supposed to do?
He's not answering the question.
I totally did.
He made the statement that said, I can say this part.
Mm-hmm.
He made a statement that said, as long as he don't have another wife. I just asked you to show me a verse that says he cannot do it if he has a wife. If there's no verse, just say there's no verse.
In combination with the entire Torah, which
I didn't
you're
ask
supposed
about
to follow.
no combination.
My
We ain't trying to go
goodness.
through a rigmarole.
It's very weird
Either
that we
you
want. Hold up. My turn now. It's very weird we want to start cherry picking the Torah when it's convenient for us.
I'm not cherry
But later, they're like,
picking.
we got to follow all of the law, guys. Now he doesn't want to follow all the law. Very convenient.
You just have to. No, you said in the law he can't do it if he has a wife. But you're not showing me in the law. Maybe in verse 6. Let me go to Deuteronomy 25 directly.
All right, go
I'm
for
gonna read the verse. This is the question. Y'all, I'm just being funny now. I'm just being
You're
funny
good,
with
man.
James.
You're good.
No, I'm talking to the audience for James. This is Deuteronomy 25 and 5. It says, if brethren dwell together, one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without a stranger, and her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take him to wife and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which he bears shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up a brother in my name Israel, he would not perform the duty. So is it in the law that a man can refuse?
Is it in the law that he can refuse? No,
Yes.
if he's unmarried, he has to do it. Yeah.
It just
That makes
said,
sense.
I just read it. If a man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate of the elders, say, my husband's brother refused, and he would not perform the duty of my husband's brother, then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to do it and say, I like not to take her, then shall the brother's wife come into the presence of the elders, and they shall spit in his face.
right,
That's
can I-
how.
We're
So
at-
now,
Can
We're
I
at
answer
time.
now?
I can give you a chance to ask him a question. We're at
last
time
question.
otherwise.
So we can read where if he doesn't do it, he gets spit in the face, shoe thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
Last chance. Where's the verse that says he cannot do it if he's married?
Okay, once again, let's just answer in full here. It's these are case law examples. These are not universal all-encompassing, as scholars will note. If you take the whole Torah, that the Leviticus 18:18 would cancel it out if the other brother is married. That's the key here that he cannot get around, because now he doesn't want to take the whole law. Very convenient.
All right, with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you very
You know,
much,
the last time I
gentlemen.
did this dance when you and I was battling.
Listen, you can dance all you want. I know you got to earn money, but I'm good.
I don't earn it by dancing. That was a good one, though.
That was very lively, very enjoyable. We'll jump into the cross-exam. Mike, only questions for Captain Tazaryach. Yeah, I'll start the cross-exam on your first word.
All right. Do you have more than 2 wives?
Currently?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you have more. Where does the Bible permit you to have more than 1 wife?
Deuteronomy 17:17, Exodus 21:10.
Does Deuteronomy 17:17 says you can have those wives?
It says you can't multiply wives to yourself that it turn away your heart from God. Right. My heart is not turned.
So you mentioned Deuteronomy 21:15. Does it say a man has 2 wives or more than 2 wives?
It says he has 2 wives.
So at best, it would only be allowing 2 according to your interpretation.
No.
Where does it say more than 2 in the verse?
It doesn't say more than 2 in the verse.
Okay, so at best, it would only allow bigamy.
You better at just answering the question.
Yeah.
It doesn't say more than 2 in the verse.
Right. So at best, it would only be allowing 2 according to your interpretation, not more than 2, correct?
No, because the onus on this one is just giving an example of a man having more than 1 wife. And so what anybody with common sense would say, if he have 3 wives, if he have 4 wives, no matter how many wives he has, he cannot take away the firstborn right from the first son.
Yeah. Does it say that he has both those wives at the same time?
No, it does not.
All right.
I asked you that same question.
Okay, so are all stated circumstances in the Torah mean that those circumstances are permitted?
All lawful stated examples.
So if there's a verse that says, if
can I
this
say
circumstance is going on, you can do it?
Can I finish answering?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. All lawful things are permitted, but they're not always expedient, meaning you don't have to do it.
Okay, so if there's a verse that says, if, I don't know, a man has 2 wives, in your view, that would be saying you can have 2, the Torah would be saying you can have 2 wives, according to you.
Yeah, and in my opening statement, I made it clear. I said, can I read it?
Yeah.
In my opening statement, I made it clear. If by promote you mean it commands to practice it, no, there is no command to practice it. If by promote you mean permits and regulate it as a lawful form of marriage, then yes. So we do not promote that a man has to do it, but we do promote the responsibility and regulations of 1 wife or 5.
Okay, well, just real quick, just to summarize, because it says if a man has 2 wives, according to you, that means you can have 2 wives, correct?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't read it that way. I don't read that verse and say, okay, I gotta have 2 wives.
That's not what I asked. You can, not gotta. So according to you, Deuteronomy, you can.
You
okay.
can, yeah.
So in Deuteronomy 23:18, it says, "You shall not bring the fee of a prostitute or the wages of a dog into the house of the Lord your God." Deuteronomy 23:18. Can you have the wages of a prostitute?
Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord for thy God for any vow for even both. I was out in the verse before that. It says, "There shall be no whores of the daughter of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel." So I would interpret that as you can't have neither. That's the point.
So, but you could have. But could you have money from a prostitute from another nation?
No.
Okay, so merely having prostitutes' money does not mean prostitution is permitted. Then, correct?
I don't understand the question.
Merely having the money of a prostitute does not mean God is allowing you to sleep with prostitutes, correct?
I would say if you have the money of a prostitute, you are breaking God's commandments.
Exactly. Okay,
Right.
So just stating something in the Torah is not permitting what's in the, we're not permitting.
This is not permitting
Exactly.
the money from a whore.
Hey, thank you. Perfect.
Right.
Okay, is stealing wrong?
It's telling you that you cannot.
Is stealing wrong?
It's still, yeah, thou shalt.
Okay, so Exodus 22:1 says, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and kills it and sells it, he shall repay. So similar structure to what we see in the Deuteronomy passage you brought up. Can you actually steal an ox or a sheep?
Someone can break the commandments and steal it. That what you're bringing up is examples of breaking commandments, but
Yeah.
you're not. But you have yet to bring up anything about breaking the commandment of a man having more than 1 woman. So I'm going to agree. Could a man steal? Yes. But if they do steal, they're going to get punished for it. But if a man has 2 wives, he ain't getting punished for it. If he get 3 wives, he ain't getting punished for it. You're bringing me to laws. You're bringing me to laws about breaking commandments, whereas the laws I brought about having a wife is keeping the
So
commandments.
you would agree, just stating that something is happening is not permitting.
if stating the examples that you have given so far are sinful things,
Yeah.
that sins are not sins are not permitted, but you have not given examples of a man having 2 wives as a sin.
So then again, let's go back to Leviticus 18:18, since that's where we're going. How do you
okay.
understand this verse?
I understand Leviticus 18:18 as Moses knowing of the story of Leah and Rachel and saying you can't marry 2 cousins or you can't marry 2 sisters.
Can you show me a place anywhere in the whole Hebrew Bible where the phrase "a woman to her sister" means a biological sister?
Yeah, right here. Neither because when it's talking about the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law, the whole chapter of Leviticus, the 18th chapter, is about family that you cannot be with. And so when it gets to the husband, neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. It's the wife's sister. It's plain on tables.
So in the prior verse, it says you cannot marry a woman and her daughter, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so are they siblings? Are they related?
Yes, their daughter. And
Can
mother
you
and daughter.
can you does verse 17 say you can marry that relative after maybe the mother dies?
No.
Okay, but in the following verse, you can marry the other woman after the
You
first
can
one
marry.
dies.
Yeah, it says to uncover her nakedness besides the other in her lifetime. So if you
Yep.
marry a sister and that sister passes away, then you could marry the other sister.
So why can't you do it with the daughter in the prior verse?
Because you can't marry a mother and daughter because that's incest.
What if the mother dies?
It doesn't say you can do that when they
Okay,
die.
okay, so in the prior verse, it's a different understanding of what's going on there then, because
It's not
you
a
can
diff-
do it if one dies, correct?
It's not a different understanding of who you can marry, and it doesn't change the context that Leviticus 18:18 is talking about that wife's sister.
Is the verse 19 talk about incest at all?
Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she a part of her uncleanness. That's talking about when a woman is on her flower.
So you would agree 19 and following is not about incest, correct?
19 is about any woman.
Okay, so verse 18 is not in the middle of incest verses, correct? It's at the end.
Yes.
Okay,
it is at
so
the end,
it could
right.
go with the following verses just about general rules, possibly, right?
I don't know if I would put general rules because it's specific. 19 is general because it could be your grandmother. It could be grandmother don't get cycles, so I won't use them.
Gross.
It could be your auntie. It could be your mother. It could be your own sister. You can't be a part of any woman. That's in general. 18 is
In general.
Right.
So general rules.
19 is a general rule
Yeah.
of women.
So 18 could be a general rule also
No,
as well.
18 is specific because it says, "Thou shalt not take a wife to her sister."
Why does
if it was in general, it would say, "Neither thou shalt take another wife."
Why does it not say a woman and her sister?
It says, say that again.
Why does it not say woman and her sister?
Because they smart. I mean, they're intelligent enough to know. If they wanted it to say, "Thou shalt not take another wife," it would just say, "Thou shalt not take another wife." But that's not the context. It's clear. Don't take that wife's sister.
So in Exodus 26:3, it says 5 curtains shall be coupled,
Exodus,
woman
you said
to her
26
sister.
you
That's
said
what
20, 26 and 3.
26:3. So I'm going to read it as literally as I can, because it says 5 curtains shall be coupled, woman to her sister, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled, woman to her sister. Is that talking about biological sisters?
26 and 3, I don't see the word sister.
I'm using the Hebrew. I'm reading it as literally as possible.
So it says the 5 curtains shall be. So verse 1 says, "Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle." This is talk about the tabernacle. This is
Right.
talk about women.
So again, 5 curtains shall be joined, woman to her sister, and 5 joined, woman to her sister.
Why are you saying? I don't understand why you're saying woman.
That's literally the Hebrew. The Hebrew.
So just so I can't ask a question, right? But I don't see the connection between this and women in Leviticus.
Okay, but you would agree it's not talking about biological sisters here, just parts of the tabernacle, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Excellent. So that phrase seems to refer to just another, not
what
biological
phrase?
siblings. Woman to her sister.
What? No, in 23, it's 26.
26:3, yep. That's the same
When
phrase
it
in
said-
Leviticus 18:18.
Which part of 3 is the phrase?
Okay, so the first word is 5, then curtains, shall be joined. Okay, woman to her
Okay,
sister.
Okay, because I'm reading the KJV, I don't see join.
We
I
gotta look at
see-
the Hebrew,
I
man.
see- I see couple. So you're saying in that one, it says the coupled part, kabar. Is that the word? Well, that's what it says. H22.
No, it says
66?
Isa el Hota, I believe is how you pronounce it.
So when I'm on my Eastward app, the together word is H2266, which says kabar.
No, I'm looking
join-
at if you want to do Strong's Concordance, it would be 802-413 and then 269.
Is that Bible Hub you using?
Yeah, you can go there if you want.
Gotcha. Let's look at that. If y'all don't mind.
Okay. I got it right here if you need it.
I'm not
Let me
about
text
to
it
walk
to you.
You say Exodus 26:3, right?
26 and 3,
All
yep.
right, let me go to verse 3.
So,
I got it right here. And let me put it in the Hebrew.
mm-hmm.
All right, let me put it in Hebrew. So it says, Moshe, Hayah, Ro'eh, El, Son, Yitro, Hatnau, Kohen, Medan.
Look for 802.
Wait, no, this went to chapter 3. My apologies.
My goodness.
My bad.
I got time.
I
Pause
apologize.
my
bad.
time,
We're
James.
gonna have another.
I got so many more questions. Pause my time.
Wait, hold on, wait. I'm all right. I'm there now.
Okay,
It
all
says Hamas, Hariyat, Dayana, Hoberat, Asa, El, Ahota.
Yep, there. Yeah, that was the ending of
Okay,
it. So
gotcha.
Isa El Hota is not Isa like the word for
It
woman.
says 5 curtains shall be joined to each other and her sister to her sister. And
Yeah, there it is.
I got you. So you're saying because it says sister there,
No, it says the whole phrase, woman to her sister. Isa is in
right? In mine's it still says. So it says sister there.
Yeah.
On Bible Hub it says 5 curtains shall be joined each other to her sister and 5 curtains. So it still uses curtains there.
Right.
But then it says to her sister.
Exactly.
But I still don't know what that has to do with Leviticus 18.
You would agree, looking at that phrase, though, it clearly refers to those that are not biological sisters, correct?
I don't think this is talking about women at all.
Exactly.
It's clear, right? But Leviticus 18 is talking about women specifically. When you know Hebrew is multifaceted with the words. The words can be used anything. Gentiles can be people, or it can be a herd.
So there's no evidence that phrase refers to biological sisters, correct?
What phrase?
The phrase you just read in Exodus
No,
26:3.
my argument is not whether the phrase in Exodus 26 is talking about sisters. My argument is that the context in Exodus 26 is the tabernacle and the curtains
All right, well,
being metaphorically explained as sisters. That's why the King James translation doesn't use that.
All right, we got to move on. I got time. I guess.
Wait, let me just in here. The King James version just says the 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another. So it's just a translator that's choosing to use that word sister or not. So we'll be arguing translation.
We got the point across. Let's move on. Oh, you said that not everyone should be polygamous. Who should?
I don't think everybody should have a wife.
Okay. That
Meaning,
doesn't,
like, you should understand the responsibility.
doesn't answer my question. You agree not everyone should be polygamous, right?
I do agree that
Okay.
everyone should
Who-
not be polygamous.
Who do you, in your view, should have the ability to be polygamous?
Men that understand the responsibility of getting a wife, which is why the word promote and permits and regulates it talks about that. That's why the first thing you heard me say was I use Deuteronomy 17:17. Do not multiply wives to yourselves that it turn your heart away from the Most High.
Can the best among us be polygamous? The most righteous, the best among us?
I don't know if a best amongst us makes us a great wife. Makes us a great husband. You could be good at being a cop and not be a good husband. You could be good at this and not be a great husband. You're going to be gone a lot. So I don't know if I would say the best of us is what I would do. I would say a man should examine himself to see if he can be great to one wife before he thinks about getting another wife.
So we should be righteous before we should be polygamous?
You should be responsible. I think you should be God-fearing and responsible.
Does the
before you
Bible
get
call us to
one
be more
wife.
Christ-like?
Yeah, we should follow Christ.
Should
I
the
agree.
best among us be more Christ-like?
Yes.
Okay. According to 1 Timothy 3, 2, and 12, it talks about bishops and deacons being the husband of one wife. What, do you need a muffin or something? You hungry?
No, man.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
That's
Please-
what I do.
Please don't make.
I've been waiting for you to get here. I've been waiting for this part.
So
I've been waiting for
just
Timothy 3
just
and
don't
2
make
to
those
talk about
sounds
the
looking at
bishop.
me.
I've
I'm
been
not going to be
waiting.
one of your wives. Okay.
I am not. Christianity may endorse homosexuality.
All right.
Israelites
So,
don't endorse homosexuality, so I would not want
Would you say overseers in the church should be the most Christ-like because they're representing Christ before the congregation?
I think all men should be Christ-like, whether
Okay.
you're an overseer or bishop or not.
So, but bishops should be Christ-like then, right?
I think I just answered the question. I said all of us should be. It doesn't matter. Your rank doesn't matter in obedience to Christ. We all should be obedient.
How many
to
wives
Christ.
are bishops allowed?
It sounds like you got to have one wife. Can a bishop be single?
Yeah.
It says
Hold
the
up,
bishop must be blameless, the husband of one wife. It sounds like he got to be blameless, got to have one wife.
So you would agree, though, that for bishops and overseers, they're not allowed to be polygamous.
I don't know if I agree with Christians' understanding of this verse, but I'll use your lens. So if a bishop only has one wife, that's fine. But it still does not mean if a man has two wives, he's in sin. Have you yet to see it yet? This whole conversation, ain't no verse said having more than one wife is a sin.
We already went over that.
No, we did not. We went over the lie you said.
So the best. So those that are the most. So those that are Christ-like are called to only have one wife if they have a wife.
The verse doesn't say those that are Christ-like. It says if a man,
bishop, overseer.
it says this is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. So it's not talk about whether you Christ-like, because then that would be disrespecting all the people that are not bishops but are Christ-like.
Time. That was excellent as well, gentlemen. Then we have, yes, let's give him a round of applause. Very fun.
I thought this was going to be boring for a little bit.
No, it
I'm
ain't.
glad you know how to debate. You know how to battle. All right, I'm glad
Now
you
we
know how to
have-
battle. You made it interesting.
30-minute dialogue, and then we'll have
I was
Q&A.
falling asleep on that other guy.
Yeah, Anthony, wherever you are.
Okay, don't laugh at your own jokes. Okay, we're going to go to the open
Everybody
dialogue.
laughed. I just laughed with them. No, don't do that. When I said I was asleep, they
All right.
laughed too.
Well,
Then y'all laugh, tell the truth. Then y'all laugh, y'all can tell the truth. Thank you. See?
We'll
See?
we'll go to the 30-minute dialogue. The floor is all yours.
I'll let you go first. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man.
All right, well, then I'm gonna go. I got
Oh, go ahead,
questions.
yeah.
Does the Bible ever? Does God?
But now
ever,
we ain't restrict. We got
No,
we
no.
can freestyle now.
dialogue. Yeah.
Now I
Do-
gotta ask James. We can freestyle right
Yeah.
now, James.
Does God ever call Hagar Abraham's wife ever?
I don't know off the top of my head.
He does not. He only ever calls her your servant woman, but he calls Sarah your wife explicitly in
when
1715.
Abraham laid with her, what was it called?
According to God, that was just a servant woman.
I didn't ask what God. I said when Abraham. Listening is an art.
well, God's the
Do I
source
gotta
of
put my
truth.
other shirt- Do I got to put my other shirt back on?
You can put whatever you want on. Just leave a shirt on, please. Okay. Leave a shirt on for the sake of us all.
So when Sarah gave Abraham, what did it say?
So according to them, some of them said it was a wife, but God only called her a handmaid or a servant or a slave.
Was it a sin?
Yes, of course it was.
Where?
Because again, Leviticus 18:18 outlaws polygamy.
Where does it say Abraham sinned, man?
My goodness. Okay, so I guess it's okay to get drunk because Noah got drunk and it's never condemned.
Noah wasn't a drunk.
It says he
just
got drunk in Genesis 9.
He did get drunk
Yeah.
that night. A drunkard is not someone that overdrinks one night. A drunkard is someone that consistently drinks.
Wait, you think it's okay to get drunk?
No.
Okay,
But
great.
you can not know your limits. Like, let's say if we all had a drink in here and I drunk 3 shots and I'm woozy. I just learned my limitation, but was I trying to drink like that? No. But let's say if tomorrow or the day after I do the same thing, I'm a drunkard.
My goodness, 3 shots. I'm Irish. That's nothing, I'll tell you. Okay.
No, I actually could drink. I actually could drink more than that. I'm big. I'm 6'5". I'm 6'5". So I
The
could
Irish
drink.
blood is strong, man. I'm going to warn you.
I don't have no Irish blood, man. So it's no sin.
You would
So
agree,
now,
though, the Bible
it just-
mentions things the patriarchs did that they don't doesn't say they're always sinful.
When David committed adultery, it was a sin, right?
Yeah.
We can read that.
Yeah.
When Jacob laid with those 3 women besides Leah, it was not a sin, correct?
No, it was a sin.
Where?
Again, Leviticus 18:18.
Where does it say it was a sin?
It doesn't always narrate a sin. It just narrates things that happen sometimes. You
So
would
it does-
agree, though, like when Abraham took his wife and tried to give him to Pharaoh, that was sinful, right?
No.
It was not sinful for him to try to get rid of his wife into the harem of Pharaoh.
Nope. I don't read where he said it. All I know, Abraham was perfect. That's what the Bible says. So I
Abraham was
don't-
perfect.
Yeah.
No. That actually goes against the Bible. Romans 3:23 says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
So
that includes Abraham.
in Luke, the first chapter, when it says Zacharias and Elizabeth, according to the law, was blameless, what does that mean?
So which verse?
Luke 1, it might be verse 5. It might be early in the chapter. I was looking for another verse.
In
so
the
I can
days
show
of
you.
Herod, the
Luke
wife and
1
daughter, the name is Elizabeth.
and
They were both
6,
right. Yeah, they
Luke
were,
1
it,
and 5.
it just means they walk before God. It's
No,
just hyperbolic.
blameless. They were perfect too.
No, it doesn't say that.
Psalms, the 37th chapter says, mark the perfect man. It
wait a
wouldn't
minute,
say
wait.
mark the perfect man if you could not be perfect.
If Zechariah was
So in
perfect,
Romans, when it talks about us not being perfect, it's because without Christ, none of us are perfect. But
if
Psalms
Zechariah-
37 and 37 says, mark the perfect man and behold the upright.
So, question. So if Zechariah was perfect, why was he punished by Gabriel?
Because he was talking too much.
Okay, so he wasn't perfect.
He was perfect. It's not a sin to question because he's being told something that he would never see. His wife was barren.
So God punishes people for not committing sin?
It wasn't no punishment to make him not talk. God could do whatever he want. God, listen, Job didn't do nothing wrong. He was punished and then got right and got it better afterwards. But they were blameless.
So, but you would agree Zechariah made a mistake.
Were they? You said what?
Zechariah made a mistake.
I would agree that Zacharias was running his mouth.
Exactly.
That's right. And he shut his
don't
mouth.
talk back to the angel.
All he did was shut his mouth. Like talking back to the angel is what tell me where that was a sin.
Because he says it is. He says, you're doubting me.
It's
You're
so
going
sad.
against what I'm saying. That's
So
being
sad.
sinful. He's not going along with the plan of
So
God.
sad.
Not walking with God is sinful, of course. Absolutely.
It doesn't say he didn't walk with God.
That's
It
what
just said he
it's
was asking
teaching.
too many. It just say he was asking too many questions.
All right, well, we're getting off topic here.
Yeah.
So, 'cause I really want to go back to Leviticus 18:18, though. I mean, like, you got to deal with this, man. This is pretty clear. And the
Well,
scholars
here's
are
what you
pretty-
want me to deal with Leviticus 18 and 18. What you want me to deal with is commentary. That's what you want me to do.
No, I can go right to the Hebrew.
Yes, you are. When you go to the Hebrew, then, and here's what I give you. In Hebrew, in the translation on Bible Hub that we went to, that were a hota, if I'm saying that right, it translated to sisters. So when I click that word, it says 17 occurrences. KJV, one to another, and 5 international to one to another. And
The word
5.
alone you can refer to sisters, yeah. But not the
Right.
phrase.
No, what I'm reading, so in Exodus 20, it's referring to Exodus 26 and 3. The KJV renders it one to another.
Yeah, exactly.
International, one to another, 5 curtains.
If it literally is about sisters, why doesn't the KJV render that in Exodus 26:3 as literal sisters?
Is KJV the only one that renders it as coupled without
I believe
sisters?
they all render it that way. I can look it
No,
up
I
for
said
you.
is the KJV the only one that renders it without using the term sisters
Without using
in
a
the
sister?
in the translation is what I'm asking.
The barren literal Bible says 5 curtains shall be joined each to her sister.
Right. No, I'm saying is any other verb. So again, the versions translating it to English uses whatever translation they try to. So clearly, the translators of the KJV chose to use something different than the translators of the Bible that you just referenced.
Mashallah.
Correct?
Yeah, they do that sometimes. Yeah, translators try to get the meaning because Hebrew is hard to translate to English.
So in the word just means sisters, another sister of your sisters. So the KJV is using that because of the context of the chapter.
Right.
Exodus 26 is not, we would agree Exodus 26 is not talking about women at all, right?
Exactly. That's the whole point I'm trying to make to you. It's
I
not
don't-
literal
well,
sisters when you
know
make
what?
that phrase.
Help me to understand how Exodus 26 and 3 is talking about the tabernacle. Leviticus 18 is literally talking about women.
Mm-hmm.
If we go, so what is the point here? Do we go with it's talk about a tabernacle and curtains, or do we go with it's talk about women?
So let me break it down. So the phrase again, once again, if you take just the word for sister, it can refer to literal sisters or just sisters in Christ or sisters of Israel. It can also refer to just another. Now specifically the phrase Isa el Ahota. Isa el Ahota. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation if I'm wrong. That phrase. When you see that phrase, it never refers to biological sisters. So when you go to Leviticus 18:18, let's go to Exodus 26:3 first. It's also in Ezekiel, like I mentioned. You can see it. It's not referring to literal sisters. It literally means one in another.
Yeah,
now, when you put that in Leviticus 18:18, it opens by saying, one in another you shall not take as a rival wife to uncover the nakedness beside her. So it's just using that phrase. It just means another.
So when I look at this, it says, and this is on Bible Hub as well. Now, only thing with Bible Hub, because they do it in Hebrew, I'm just going to read it as it says. It says, the nakedness of the wife, not of your father, is the father. I might be in the wrong. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong chapter. I apologize. Wrong verse, rather.
Take your time.
No problem.
I got all day.
Obviously, I do too. This is my second debate.
We're proud of you for coming here, Cap. We're proud of you. We try to get some Muslims. They didn't want to come down.
Oh, they didn't want to come down? I would have
No.
joined y'all with that. We'd have been united against them. It says, I wish I could read this a little better. Let me see if I click this word. There we go. It says, and a woman to her sister, and I hate reading it in the Bible Hub when they do it with the Hebrew, so I'll just try to read it. I want to read it in the KJV on the
You
verse.
can read
as
it
well.
however you want. Right?
So Leviticus 18:18 says, "Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness besides her in her lifetime." Is there another? Let me do the NLT. The NLT says, "While your wife is living, do not marry her sister and have sexual relations with her, for they will be rivals." Again, that's referencing her sister while she's alive. In the ESV, it says, "And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister." Again, talking about the sister. So far, I'm reading 3 different translations that's saying what I'm saying. When I go to Leviticus 18:18 in the NAS, "And you shall not marry a woman in addition to her sister as a second wife while she is alive." Again, a sister. That's 4 translations that I read.
Yeah, translations can be wrong.
So all 4 translations are wrong.
According to the scholarship, yeah.
"You shall not marry a woman in addition to a sister as a rival while she is
If
alive."
I'm
That's
wrong,
the
you got-
Amplified Bible. Now, I personally don't read outside of the KJV. But what my opponent wants y'all to believe is that all these translators of the Bible are wrong.
Let me
That
tell
it's
you-
not talking about a sister.
Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time,
diabolical. Now
the
we get
Bible
another
came
story.
out, and it used to say in John 3:16, the only begotten Son. And then we did a little more scholarship. We realized the word monogenes refers more to uniqueness. So translations change it to one and only Son. And people freaked out. They thought they were changing the Bible. It was a satanic conspiracy. Translators get spooked by actually changing this kind of stuff. So they just try to follow what traditional English translations have followed
But I
for a
think
long time.
people have
Doesn't
enough,
change what the
but I
scholarship says
think
about it,
people
though.
have enough common sense to know that Leviticus 18:18 is in reference to Rachel and Leah, because Jacob didn't want Leah. The father put Leah in the tent. And so now Moses said, don't marry a wife that's a sister in her lifetime. I think we all have comprehension. I want everybody to pay attention. You might say, Cap, why are you entertaining it like this? This is how far he has to go to say that polygamy is a sin, because there is no verse that says polygamy is a sin in the Old or New Testament. We done been everywhere. We done been to Timothy, to Genesis.
And so
And
once
we have
again,
yet
he's
to
just
see a
denying what
verse
the verse
that
says.
says that you cannot have another wife.
Hey, Cap, it'd be very easy to prove me wrong. Just show me the phrase "woman to her sister" ever refers to 2 literal sisters in the Bible.
Here's how I proved it, and to the audience.
This is the verse in question. You just cannot assume your conclusion.
This is my conclusion.
You can't assume it.
This is my conclusion, though. I just read to everybody 5 different translations of the same verse, and they all say wife's sister. None of them say what he's over there trying to say. That's why I said rigmarole, a whole bunch of talking and ain't saying nothing. Because we ain't seen a verse yet. So in Matthew 19, can you marry another woman if you have a woman? I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Is Christ saying you cannot marry another woman if you have a woman?
What'd you say that again? Is that a question?
Yes.
What's the question?
According to Matthew 19:9.
Why are you running on Leviticus? We're not done there.
Well, I gave my closing statement.
Okay.
But this is a back and forth.
Again,
I can't. I don't have to let you control it now.
I'll go to Matthew 19. I
Oh,
just
okay,
want to
no
say one more
sweat.
thing.
Okay,
One
go
more
ahead.
thing.
Yeah, you got it. Good. Get down.
If I'm wrong, it'd be very easy. Just show me one place, just one place where this phrase "woman to her sister" refers to literal biological sisters. It doesn't. It always means one another. Case closed. The Torah outlaws polygamy. Matthew 19.
The
What
Torah
about it?
the Torah does not outlaw polygamy.
It literally does.
Then the same Torah that he's saying outlaws polygamy is the same Torah that's saying if you got wives, this is what you do.
Yeah.
That's like saying a verse you could steal, but then another verse regulating and rewarding stealing.
It literally
If you
regulates stealing.
If you do steal,
It literally
you can-
does. Exodus
if you do
22:1.
steal, you can keep this portion. But in the Bible, if you do steal, which is unlawful, you have to pay or get caught. If you get caught stealing a man, you get punished for stealing a man.
Okay.
So how can you say that there's a law against polygamy, but then the laws that regulate polygamy are there? That's confusion.
Where does it
and
say
God
you
is
can?
not the author of confusion.
Where does it say you can have 2 wives? You bring up the verse in Deuteronomy. It doesn't say
I just
that.
said regulates polygamy. I didn't say can anything. You said this law prohibits polygamy.
Leviticus 18:18 does, yeah.
Right. So you're taking the position that it prohibits.
sure
But if
does.
there's laws that prohibit polygamy, show me where you can murder. And then if you do murder, the only unaliving, here's a good example. The only unaliving is if it's like self-defense, because then that's not murder. That's not murder. Stealing, there is no regulation where you can steal and get rewarded for.
Who says he's getting rewarded in Deuteronomy?
And
It's
no,
actually not. It's curbing the practice.
No. I'm showing you how your statements are contradictory. Because if there was a law that said, thou shalt not steal, and then somewhere down the line, if you did steal, you can keep this part, you can keep that part, then what you're saying would make sense about what you're saying about polygamy versus monogamy. My argument is that whether you're monogamous or polygamous is irrelevant to me, but you can do either, and then there's rules that regulate if you have more than one woman.
And my argument is, once again, the verses you bring up do not say you can or you may have 2 wives if you so choose.
It don't have to say you can, because you already have it.
Yeah, and you can just go to the verse in Deuteronomy 23 where it says the money of a prostitute cannot be brought into the temple of the Lord.
So you know what that
means?
It's not the promotion of prostitution.
Exactly. Thank you.
But if it says if a man have 2 wives, that is promotion of having 2 wives.
So, then I guess you're promoting prostitution in Deuteronomy 23.
How am I promoting prostitution when you can't do one thing,
but
it says if a man have 2 wives? It's not saying if a man have 2 wives, you got to take him out and stone him, throw your shoe at him.
Cap.
If you don't have sex with that woman, that if my brother passed away and his wife didn't have no children, and she came to me and said, man, you're going to have to do what you got to do because Stephen ain't here no more. I'd be like, nah, I don't want to do it. They could throw a shoe at me, spit it. She could bring me to the congregation and stone me. And I got wives.
Cap.
But can she do that, yes or no?
Cap, you good?
I'm asking a question.
Okay.
Can she do that, yes or no?
Man, you were going on. What are you talking about?
I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
My brother passed away.
All right.
If his wife come to me and say, I didn't have no sons with Stephen, and so I need you to raise up a law of a brother. I got wives. Am I supposed to do that according to the law?
No.
Show me where I'm not supposed to do that.
Leviticus 18:18 says you cannot have 2.
I want
so
y'all
if you
to
already
understand.
got one, you already got one.
I want y'all to understand. You have to lie on the Bible. That's what he's doing right now.
So again,
because the law says if I refused, she could take me to the elders of the city.
And then you would say, hey, I can't. Leviticus 18:18 says I can't.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cute and it's funny to keep saying that. This is why I've been telling y'all Christians
That's
be
the truth.
schizophrenic. It is not the
quote God
truth
logic,
because
that's the truth.
That verse does not say you can't do that.
Okay.
This is crazy. I might have to take it back that you was better than the last guy. This is crazy.
Man, you're really struggling over there, man. I get it.
Because in that scenario,
keep your cool.
I could not deny that woman. I would have to perform my duty as a brother, even though I have wives. So now my question.
What if you were prepubescent? Could you do it?
I don't know what that means.
Before you hit puberty. What if you were like 9, 10? Could you do it? No, you couldn't. So she could not take you to the court and do that. Because we see that in Genesis. Because again, what happens? We see an example of that where the brother is too young. So what is it? Judah, I believe it is? Judah and Tamar?
But he had a bunch of sons. So he let another son do it. And when that son pulled out, the Lord unalived him.
Mm-hmm. And then he has one other, and he's too young. He can't do it.
Okay. Outside of too young, I'm not talking about being underage. We're not.
Well, where
does
the verse in Deuteronomy say if the brother's too young?
You know who would do it? Muslims would probably do it.
I got you there. Yeah, you're good, man.
Muslims would give up that 9-year-old boy ASAP. They would do it.
That's why I'm not debating one. I'm not bringing that up. I know what you mean. But it doesn't. My point is, if you go back to the Deuteronomy passage, it does not include the clause if he's too young, he doesn't have to.
Because
it assumes it because this is
right.
case law. This is not exhaustive law.
Right, but if I say no, she can go to the priest and say that man said no. So my question, Matthew 19:9, when it says, "Whosoever shall put away his wife except to be fornication and shall marry another," does Christ say, if you have a wife and marry another, it's fornication in that verse?
Yeah, he says if you marry another, it's fornication.
No. He said the first thing he says, if you put away your wife. So
right.
the subject is putting away your wife.
Yeah, you can't put her away.
The subject is putting away your wife. Agreed?
You can't. Yeah, subject is putting away. It's about divorce. Yeah.
The subject is not about keeping your wife. Correct?
The subject is about putting away the wife, like I said. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that doesn't change
my
point.
My question is, Does Christ say in this verse, if you get another wife while you have another wife, that's fornication?
It would be implied by the context, yeah.
Why would it be implied by the context when that's not the subject?
I explained in my opening statement, because once again, they become one flesh. They're one unit. So this is a rejection of divorce outright. And if you marry another, regardless of if it's before or after, this is what Jesus does.
But see, you
it's
putting
like,
stuff
let me finish it going. I'll let you go for a while. It's my turn. Let me finish. Let me go. So again, what Jesus often does is he takes cases and then goes and explains exhaustive law. So this is what he's doing. He's saying, listen, if you divorce and you marry another, that's adultery. As Gordon Wenham points out, if marrying another is adultery, that would also be before divorce as well. So Jesus is taking divorce and he's making an exhaustive claim to say, yeah, all of polygamy is just wrong. Only one woman per life. That is the ideal state.
This is what I mean when you're throwing a bunch of stuff into the text. Where does it say anywhere in here about polygamy in this chapter?
It doesn't say the word polygamy, no.
Where does it say about more than one woman in this chapter?
Literally says if you marry another, that'd be two.
No. On a let me, damn, I can't believe I got to do it like this.
No, it's all right.
Where is the subject about a man getting another wife and keeping his existing wife in here?
That's not the case they bring up, so doesn't worry about it.
That's right. So just like you can't interject that into the conversation, you can't interject that into the conclusion.
But the conclusion
cannot be that this means a man cannot get more than one wife, because that's not the subject. And being of one flesh has nothing to do with what that man and woman are physically.
Are you done? Can I go now?
Yes.
All right. So here's the problem. This is like if I caught you, I don't know, stealing something, James. I'm gonna go with James. So so James, I said you were stealing.
I thought James really stole something.
You were stealing my computer, and then I took you to the judge, and the judge was like, "It's stealing is wrong." Notice he doesn't say, "Well, he just means stealing laptops is wrong." No. He's saying stealing is wrong. Jesus is doing the same thing. If you marry another, it's adultery. He's taking a case, and he's then making an exhaustive law, as scholars have pointed out, which would include outlawing polygamy.
No, he's not, because
yes, he is.
Christ in Matthew 5:17 said, "Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I came not to destroy or fulfill."
Including Leviticus 18:18.
So he's not getting rid of divorce. He's just telling you adultery is the divorce that Moses was talking about in Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter, not the hardness of your heart.
So he's not getting rid of the law?
Not getting rid of the keeping of the commandments, then you can't say he's getting rid of a man having more than one woman.
Oh, it's perfectly fine with me. It includes Leviticus 18:18. Goes right back to it. You can't escape that. That's the kill shot you cannot get over.
That is not,
and
listen,
you've not
you can
addressed
say
it
that,
at all.
You can say that. I've addressed it at length. Listen,
No.
I even went to Bible Hub and read 5 different versions, and they all say sister, 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 sister.
Oh my
sister.
goodness, translations. The Bible was in Hebrew. That's what I'm going. I thought you were black
In the
Hebrew
Hebrew,
Israelite.
it's the same.
Black Hebrew Israelite. I just want to talk about the Hebrew.
For
Weird.
the record, I know most people don't know that, but we hate the word black in front of Hebrew Israelite. We just prefer Hebrew Israelite, if you don't mind.
All right, my
Thank you.
apologies.
No, I appreciate it. But even in the Hebrew, the context is still sister in Leviticus, the 18th chapter. It is not in the context of of it being sister, like we're all sisters in Christ and brothers
only uses
in Christ.
doesn't
For
say
example,
that.
when Moses, and I think in the Song of Solomon, he says, "I've come to the garden, my sister, my spouse." That's not a literal sister.
Exactly. Thank you. That helps my case. It's the word sister does not always refer to a literal sister.
It
you
does
just shot
not,
yourself in the foot, buddy.
No, I did not.
You sure did.
No, what I'm showing you is that I can go to a verse where it uses the word sister, but it's not in the context of a a relative sister. That's the point. But the context of Leviticus 18 is of a fleshly relative sister.
Where does it say that?
Listen, I just went back to the chapter. New International, New Living, English Standard, Berean, King James, New King James, American, NASB 1977, Legacy Standard, Amplified, Christian Standard, Holman, American.
Just trying to run the clock out?
All of these translations say sister.
Okay.
In the sense of your sister that your mother and father gave birth to.
How many times does the Hebrew word sister show up in the verse?
In the verse?
Leviticus 18:18. How many times?
In that one verse?
Yeah. How many times does the word sister show up?
Now I got so many different versions. Which version are you talking about? Because I got
in
so
the
many
Hebrew. The Hebrew
Let
version.
me click the Hebrew. You said how many times? Let me see
Yeah, how many times does the Hebrew word for sister
one.
show up in the
I see it one time.
Once.
122, 23. 24 translations of that verse say it's a sister, little mother, and father. All of them imply the same thing.
No, thank you,
But
Count.
what my opponent would have you believe that all of them are wrong, and him and his commentators are right, just because he don't want to know more than one woman.
I
And listen,
cite
you ain't gotta
scholars-
you married?
Of course I'm married.
Man, just be happy with your one woman.
I sure am. You should be too with one.
I'm
You should.
happy with my women too. And we both can exist in our own happiness. But don't try to force something into the text that's just not into the
Man,
text.
now
We
the-
don't mandate for men to go like when the brother, hey man, how many wives you got? You only got
Now
one.
this
Hey,
is
man, you
this
need
is
like
this
3
is
or 4.
hilarious. He's appealing to consequences. This is
I'm
not
not
actually an
appealing
argument.
to consequences.
There's
I'm
nothing to do
saying
with what
that
the Bible says.
I'm not appealing to consequences.
I find
What I'm
people
saying-
happy doing drugs.
But
Oh,
drugs
good.
is unlawful. I'm
Yeah,
against drugs.
so is polygamy.
No, it's not.
Literally
There's
right there, man.
nowhere that it says it's unlawful.
It literally says it
Nowhere.
right there.
Where? We have not read one verse that says it's fornication, that said it's unlawful. You just want us to believe what you're saying Leviticus 18 and 18 means. But you have yet to show a verse that said it's unlawful or fornication. The only mistakes we see is Reuben sleeping with his father's wife. That's adultery.
Gross.
I agree. David sleeping with Bathsheba. He got punished for it.
Pretty bad.
Solomon letting them turn his heart away. Ezekiel had one wife, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Were they one flesh?
Of course they were.
Then why did God give her a stroke?
Because he was desiring her more than God, I believe.
So then they wasn't one flesh.
No. You could be sinful and still be one flesh.
Wait,
Death.
you cannot
death
be
separates
sinful.
it.
You
Death separates
cannot
it.
be sinful and be one flesh, because one flesh is on one accord. So if Ezekiel's wife was one flesh, if having one wife is the standard, and Ezekiel had one wife, and y'all saying that makes you one flesh, but he desired her more than he desired the Most High, then they wasn't one
This
flesh.
has nothing
Because
to
if
do
they
with
was
the
one
topic.
flesh, you know what that woman would do? That woman would have made sure he was on the same accord with the Most High too.
So
So
let me
that
get this
shows
straight.
she wasn't on the same
It's
accord.
impossible
so the
for
one
a-
flesh
what
can't
couple?
be the one flesh
Hold
can't.
up.
I'm gonna land right here.
All right,
the one
hurry.
flesh can't be what you are physically. It could only be what you are spiritually.
Okay. So if you have a couple, it's impossible for them to cheat on each other, to violate God's law.
You said no. What you said. What I said was they were not the same flesh.
Says who?
Says the Lord when he killed her. Matter of fact, when I asked you why did the Lord kill her, you said because she wasn't on one accord with him.
Yeah, because
That
they're
was your
sinful
response.
people. That happens. This has nothing to do with the topic.
It has everything to do with the
Nah.
topic. Because Deuteronomy 17 and 17 says, do not multiply wives to yourselves, that it turn your heart away from the Lord.
What does it also
And-
say? Keep
and
reading. Keep reading it.
Neither multiply silver or gold.
Keep reading.
After that verse?
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, no stress. I'm going to read it again. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Verse 18. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, book out of that which is before the priests and the Levites. You want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, no sweat.
One more verse.
Got you.
Oh yeah, 2 more. Just read the rest of the chapter.
All right, no sweat. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Most High his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, and to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he not turn aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end he may prolong his days and his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Now, I
So
would
he's
actually
under the
argue,
law of the Torah, right? He's still under the Torah, according to those last 2 verses. He still has to follow the rules of the Torah.
correct. We
He
all
cannot
have to
be
follow
lifted
it.
up. He cannot have special rules for himself.
Right,
Exactly. Leviticus 18:18 still applies to him then. That's a rule of the Torah.
What he did was just wiggled out of Ezekiel. Ezekiel's
You
wife.
went to Deuteronomy 17.
No.
You
I
the
went-
one who went. You
I went
wiggled
to
out.
Deuteronomy 17 and 17 to explain to you that one flesh has nothing to do with what you have physically. It has everything to do with what you have spiritually. If one flesh was physical, then Ezekiel's wife would not have been given a stroke by God.
Then why does death separate?
Ezekiel's wife was given a stroke by God because his desire was there instead of with him.
Then why does death?
And he only had one.
Then why does death?
So
allow
having one
remarriage?
wife doesn't mean that you on the accord with the Lord.
Then why, if one spouse dies, you can remarry?
Got
The
20
wife
seconds.
can remarry.
What is that?
20 seconds.
Oh, man.
Now, you horrible with the. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
The-
We got
you've
team
been
up
doing the
on
same
you.
thing the whole time.
We
I'm
gotta
just-
go out. Let's just get him. Let's just go get him. You hold him down. I'll take him out.
Why I gotta hold him down?
Because you're stronger, man. Look how big he is. I can't do that. Come on.
We can wrap it there because I know the 20 second probably up, and I know we got to close and people may have questions. So
Very
I think we can
good.
stop. Fair enough.
That's fair, yeah.
Okay. No
Thank you
sweat.
very much, gentlemen, for that open dialogue. That was excellent. Very fun. We have 5-minute closings and then Q&A. So kick it over to Cap. The floor is all yours.
Oh,
for
what am I
5
doing now?
5-minute close.
closings.
Oh, okay. I probably don't need 5 minutes, man. First, give it up for my opponent. Give it up for y'all being up in the room in this building. I appreciate y'all being here. Damn, y'all want to give it up for us for the debate? I said, damn, they ain't want to give it up. I said, damn.
White people.
He said it, I did. He said it, I did. So I'm going to say it too, white people. I'm going to say I'm going to join in with it. No, but I thought this was a very spirited debate, to be honest. I didn't know how amped up I would be because it's not something that I normally do. I actually didn't think that I could have a long debate on this subject, so I do appreciate my opponent and the spirit that he brought during this debate. But I think it's very plainly clear from what I demonstrated, the Bible does promote polygamy. It regulates polygamy. Is it a forced mandate? No, but marriage itself is not a forced mandate. There are rules and responsibilities that come with it. There was nothing that my opponent could bring other than his own rendition of Leviticus 18, which he was stuck on forever. 24 different translations of the Bible disagree with him. So I think I've been able to prove very clearly that polygamy is promoted in the Bible. I appreciate y'all for having me today.
Thank you very much for that
Straight
closing
to the
statement
point.
from
Yeah,
Cap.
Straight to the point.
All right. Yeah,
over,
thank you
Mike.
for coming, everyone. Thank you, Cap, for the spirited debate. I always enjoy debating you. It's always fun. That's why I wanted to set this up. So thank you for agreeing to the debate. I think it's very clear the Bible outlaws polygamy. Leviticus 18:18 is very clear. And again, my challenge is out there. Show me where that phrase, woman to her sister, refers to literal sisters. It doesn't. And scholars have pointed out, verse 18 actually goes with the following verses. The incest laws end in verse 17, and then it just refers to general miscellaneous laws after that. Therefore, it's outlawing polygamy. When you go to verses, Deuteronomy, the passage in Deuteronomy, it's not referring necessarily to someone engaging in polygamy, because you can refer to a man who has a wife, and then she dies and he marries another, as a man who has 2 wives. And then what do you do with the offspring? Is it got inheritance laws? The Bible nowhere promotes polygamy, and even if it was referring to that, it's just referring to a circumstance. Sometimes that happened in the culture, and God wants to regulate and minimize the damage it can happen for the offspring. So that's at best. Again, you go to Deuteronomy 23, for example. Notice what it says in there. It talks about you cannot bring the wages of a prostitute in. Okay, well, it doesn't think you should even get the wages of a prostitute, obviously, because it's outlawed in other places. But it assumes that happens in the culture. The same thing is what it talks about that passage in Deuteronomy, okay? There was a problem there. I want to end on a very important point about, for example, David. Now, if you actually go through the story of David, there are periods where he's really drawing near to God, and there's periods where there's a lot of silence. Scholars like Richard M. Davidson note it's in the silence part. It's in the silence part that he's engaging in polygamy. And then what happens after the affair with Bathsheba, and he has to leave Jerusalem because of his son, and he comes back? Notice what it says when he comes back. David came to his house in Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 concubines, whom he had left to care for the house, and put them in a house under guard and provided for them, but did not go into them. They were shut up until the day of their death, living as if in widowhood. In other words, after that, David repents. He comes back to God. He lives monogamous the rest of his life. His only wife is Bathsheba at that point. Go to Jacob. Jacob has multiple wives. He wrestles with God. After that, only Rachel's his wife. And Genesis 46 confirms. It only says that Rachel was the wife of Jacob. The other women were just women that bore him children. So when people get closer to God, they move towards monogamy. This is what happens in 1 Timothy 3. The overseers, the people that are meant to represent Christ to us, the deacons, they are to be monogamous because they're representing Christ's love for the church. And the funny thing is the early church fathers said that actually refers to an overseer only having one wife per life. Even if she dies, he's got to remain celibate the rest of his life because he has to represent Christ's undying love for the church, because that's what it's about. Our marriages are meant to represent Christ's undying love for the church, as Ephesians says. So that means we can only have one wife, one spouse. Nowhere ever is polygamy permitted, and it's explicitly outlawed in Leviticus 18:18. Case closed. That's the end of it. If I'm wrong, again, show me where the phrase means literal sisters. It doesn't exist. So therefore, polygamy is not only not promoted, it is outlawed, and I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for those closing statements. We appreciate it. Let's give them a round of applause. We'll start the Q&A. So
definitely was fun as
just
hell,
to
man.
my left, if you want to line up in this center
Y'all got
column.
questions?
Good luck, Cap. Good luck.
Oh, but on this side, just so the camera can get over here. Thank you. All right, we're ready for you. And then if you want to have a conversation, if you can just do us a favor and just step out of the room just so it's not a distraction for anybody. Okay, here we go.
You said tonight that adultery is immoral. Then why did General Mahayim, over you in the ISUPK, instruct Chris Rock to sleep with Jada Pinkett Smith after Will Smith slapped him? He had an extended video telling him he needed to come into his house, play video games with his son so he could sleep with Jada to get revenge. That's adultery. Why did Mahayim promote it?
The subject tonight is, does the Bible promote polygamy? My general does not condone polygamy. Your misunderstanding of a class is irrelevant to me. That's your answer.
Ready for you.
For Cap, so you seem to imply, if I understood you correctly, that there's no place in Scripture that if you steal something, you can keep it because there's always that punishment. Is that correct?
In the law.
Right. So
Not that there's examples in the Bible. You can see where I think the Egyptians, when we was destroying the Egyptians, what's the word that it uses? Spoiled them. I think so. You can see that example where we spoiled them. So if you talk about judgments of the Lord, that's a little different. So you can see prophecies where we're going to punish people. Now, normally that punishment wouldn't be allowed, but because of judgment from the Lord, that's different.
So I guess what I heard you say was, because when Mike was bringing up examples, you're like, well, but there's no examples of doing wrong and then being able to keep the wrong that you did, something like
If
stealing.
you can show me.
That's what I understood you to say.
If you can show me something like that, I'll gladly listen.
Okay, yeah, so here's what I was thinking. So you do agree that David and Bathsheba, that was immoral, right? That was
Yes.
adultery. Now, to be fair, David does get punished for it, but he keeps Bathsheba. So
But
would
he
that...
did get punished for it.
Right, but
he
he-
got
but he-
punished perpetually, though. His
And-
punishment wasn't just...
Can I
that-
finish my question? And then
I'm sorry, yeah,
I'll
my
go
apologies,
sit
my
down.
apologies. Go ahead.
But it seems like there, God would still have regulations on how he should treat Bathsheba. It was adultery, like we agree, but it seems to be the case that one could argue, well, you can do something sinful and keep it, and then there's regulations, but clearly those regulations don't promote it or condone it, even though there's regulations on something that we agree is immoral.
I would disagree that that David was able to get away with it because he was punished for it. He lost a son, and the Lord told him that blood would never leave his house. When you actually read 2 Samuel 12:12, it says, "For thou didst it secretly, but I would do this thing before all Israel and before the sun." And David said unto Nathan, "I have sinned against the Lord." And Nathan said unto David, "The Lord also hath put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die. Howbeit, because this deed thou hast given great occasions to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child that is also born unto thee, he shall surely die." So you see examples of that. I think David's son violated his daughter. You see that son passed away. So I wouldn't make that the same because there was punishment for it. Were they allowed to stay together? Uriah is gone. What's she going to do? Commit adultery and sleep with another man? So I wouldn't say that they was rewarded because they were punished.
Ready for you.
Oh, you want to hold it? I have a question. Do you think Sarah and Hagar were equal wives to Abraham, Captain?
No, I don't believe in equality at all. I don't think there's no equality amongst men. There's no equality amongst women, and for sure, not amongst wives.
Okay. You said if a man has two wives, he will not be punished for it, and God blesses it. So what did Sarah mean when it says that my wrong be upon you for giving Hagar, my handmaid, to you to be your wife?
And what verse are you reading? Just
I'm
so I can
reading
follow.
Genesis 16:5.
Thank you. So in Genesis 16:5, I think a couple verses above that, in verse 4, it says, and he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she was conceived, her mistress was despised. It was just regret because Sarah is the one that can't have kids. So yes, she wanted Abraham to have another kid, to have a kid at all, and then she regretted it. So that's more so Sarah's regret, not Abraham's regret.
So why did the Lord accept Isaac?
Because
Who
the
was the child of promise?
Yes, because that
Okay.
child was promised even before, I don't know if it was before Haggai was born, but that's the promised child. That's why when Sarah does have the child, I think in Genesis maybe 20, when Sarah says, cast this bondwoman out, so clearly the bondwoman was still there, but when Sarah had the son, they thought she was going to get the rights, but the promise wasn't to Haggai and Ishmael, the promise was to Sarah and Isaac. So when Sarah said, kick her out, God acknowledged it.
Exactly. But you said if God blesses it, if a man has two wives, then why was there so much animosity, division, and drama? How do you explain the dilemmas of Abraham, Jacob, Solomon, and all of the prophets who had multiple wives?
Okay, I never said God blesses it. I said it's allowed lawfully to have more than one wife. I never said God blesses it. But I also never said that every example of having more than one wife was healthy. So I think that was what Sarah chose to do. Abraham didn't even want the wife. Abraham didn't get another wife outside of that till Sarah died. So Sarah jumped out the window, gave that man another woman, and then she regretted it. So that's more so about her sending Abraham another wife, not the other way around.
We'll jump to the next question.
I hope I answered all y'all questions all right.
This is a question for both, Tazaryach and Mike, although Mike, you did address it in your closing statement. So regarding 1 Timothy 3, if polygamy is permitted and promoted in the Bible, how come Paul doesn't permit men in polygamous marriages to be in leadership? 1 Timothy 3. Even if a man has multiple wives, yet he has the commendable traits of being above reproach, sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not a drunkard, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. You get the picture. Why is it the case that Paul is prohibiting those individuals if polygamy is indeed promoted?
I don't look at the wife as Christians do, but I don't look at that as a negative just because he's telling them to be responsible from a Christian lens. Even if that bishop, IP just said that the bishop don't even have to have a wife, which I would disagree with based on that text. But I don't think that's still against polygamy. I think that that's just telling him the work that you'll have, you should have one woman. I think that's all that he's saying from a Christian lens. It's still not against polygamy.
Yeah, and I would say the best among us are our pastors, our priests, our ministers of the word, and they are meant to represent Christ to the church, to the congregation in that symbolic relationship. And if they're not, and if they are to be the closest to God in that relationship, they're to be monogamous, then that suggests that the path in that direction is monogamy. The closer we get to God. That is what the relationship of the church is always understood it as. Now, that doesn't mean they have to have one wife. That's if they want, that's all they're allowed to have at best. And it's the church understood it as one wife per lifetime, too, not one. If she dies, they can't get remarried even.
Sure. Thanks for your response.
I would like to add, there's many of us that are married to the Most High. It's not just one.
And then, real quick, I'm not the smartest guy, I'm not the wisest guy, but I do have one bit of advice for you, Captain. If you're going to say, or you said earlier you had more than 2 women. So in all 50 states, bigamy and polygamy is a punishable offense. So I would highly recommend you don't say that, where there's audio devices and visual recording devices. My bad.
No, well, you can say you have more than one wife. You just can't have a piece of paper saying you have more than one wife.
We're ready for
You
you.
can't have a biblical, an American contract. Gays can get married with an American contract. How valuable is that?
Ready for you.
I'm just going to ask a first clarifying question for Captain. You said earlier, if I heard correctly, that Abraham did not sin, correct?
Yes, I said I don't read in the Bible where it says he sinned.
Okay, so I think you were talking about his encounter with the Egyptian Pharaoh, but when he's talking with Abimelech in Genesis 20, after the event happens, after he gives Sarah to him, you then have God coming to Abimelech, stopping him from doing something, saying, I'm stopping because I know that you had good intentions, but what you're about to do is wrong. Then Abimelech comes out in chapter 20, verse 8, saying, he rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things, and the men were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said, what have you done to us, and how have I sinned against you that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? you have done to me things that ought not to be done. Can you help me understand why this does not mean that Abraham is in the wrong, which would therefore be sinful?
Because again, I don't read where he's in the wrong, and Abimelech didn't do that of his own accord, as you just said. God held him back. If God didn't hold him back, the order of that nation was to take a man's woman, to slay him and unalive him, which is what they would have done. So God stopped him. So the only reason he's talking to Abraham is because God spoke to him. That's it.
Right, but what do you do with him saying these are things that you ought not to have? These are things you have done that ought not to be done. This is him accusing that Abraham is in the wrong for allowing this to happen.
Yeah, it's just like a wicked person getting caught for his wickedness and then trying to blame the person that is the reason why he's getting caught and saying, why did you make me do this? That's how I look at it.
Ready for you.
But I still don't read no verse where Abraham would sin or anything.
My question is for the both of you, and I'm really curious on what your guys' opinion is on if a couple is together and dating, what should the timeline look like to you before they start talking about marriage and prepping for marriage?
You want to go?
I think that's an excellent question. A lot of things that get lost in today's society is courtship. Courtship is something like our school, we promote courting. Like if two individuals come into our school, they court for 6 months to a year. That courting is no touching. You can go on dates. You can talk. There's no physical. There's no kissing or anything like that. You get to know each other. Now, in that year's time, you may come together. You may say in 4 months you're ready, in 6 months you're ready, in a year you may take longer than a year. It's really, I wouldn't put a set time on it, but I would say the value of courting and getting to know somebody, because once you lay with that person, you can't lay with nobody else. So for man, especially for women, you only got one shot at this. So you should make that man jump through hoops for you. You should find out everything about him instead of looking at, we always look at the physical. Men and women do that. And then you fall in love with the physical, you figure out the mental first. If we did a great job at courting, then we would actually get to know that person. I always tell couples to have an argument or a disagreement. It ain't got to be full-blown scratch, but you should have a disagreement because you want to stop meeting their representative. When you meet somebody new, everything you say, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't hang out. Yeah, I like to do this. Everything is yes, 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 whatever you want. But you got to get to a point where there's a disagreement and then see how you solve that problem. See what his ambition is. See what her goals is. And then decide if you want to consummate that relationship.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, be very careful with how physical you get, because it can get real quick, real fast, as a lot of people will testify to. So it's no set time limit. The brain is actually maturing, and it doesn't fully mature until 25. So I would say, based on the research I've seen, the earliest one could get married is 18, and that's, if both are 18, I would be really hesitant about that because more brain maturing. I would say wait as long as you can if you're younger, because you're young, your brain is still developing. You're not entirely sure, so let that brain develop. If you're absolutely sure, I mean, go for it. I mean, no one, marriage is a beautiful thing. Definitely go for that, but just try to keep the physical aspects minimal, because it can get real hot and heavy real fast. And yeah, I agree with what he was saying. The time limit's going to vary between couples.
Yeah, look at that, us agreeing on something.
Well, thank you.
Hi, questions for Cap.
What is with that shirt, man?
It's making fun of Muslims.
Okay.
I'll
allow it.
Whatever. That's a topic for later.
Like the judge, I'll allow it.
So, two-part question, sort of. What would you say is the action that makes somebody one flesh with another person?
Being on the same accord, like the question that the young lady in the back asked, that's how you get on one accord.
Okay.
You don't, like, one accord is not your sex. Like, that's the last, sex is very easy.
Sure.
The best sex you have is maybe an hour, 2 hours. 22 hours left in the day. You got to go hang out with them, tolerate them, deal with them, find out what they are spiritually. They probably annoy you. They're going to get on your nerves. They're going to do all of that. To get on one flesh is to get that in order. How you deal with finances together, spiritual. If a Christian and a Muslim gets together, what does that look like? Because attraction is attraction. You're attracted to somebody before you know what their beliefs are, what their walks of life is. So that's what one accord is. One accord is, okay, we meet. How do we come together? The courtship is how you come together.
Okay, and then if you are one flesh with, how can you be on one accord with multiple women, right? Like, how can you be one
If you take
flesh
it-
with
Gotcha.
multiple different women? And would they not then also be one flesh with each other because they're one flesh with you?
No, because threesomes and all that stuff is unlawful. You can't sleep with more than one woman at the same time.
But I thought it wasn't about having sex.
But I'm just answering that part. I'm not finished, though. When you take it off a woman being one flesh, we are all supposed to be one in Christ. That's one flesh, too. My brothers over there, I'm one flesh with them. I'm not physically with them. I'm not a homosexual. But we are on one accord. That's the one flesh that it's talking about. It's talking about what I know. Whatever I say, they say. So with a woman, whatever I say, that's what she say. Whatever she say, that's what I say. That's being on one accord. And you could be on one accord with a lot of different people. If you and I had a business together, we could be on one accord with that business, where we want that business to thrive. So this is how we make that business thrive. That's what one means in the Bible. It's never physical.
Would we be one flesh as business partners?
Yeah. If we had a business, I have a business called Call Gas Creations. Let's say if you join what's your ethnicity?
I don't think you'd be fond of that answer.
Okay. Okay. So let's say we business partners, right? Because business partners is not unlawful. We could be on one accord. So when you speak for Call Gas Creations. When I speak for Call Gas Creations. We're one accord on that. Even if you're one body in Christ and you're one accord with that one body in Christ, what you do with your wife is your thing. What I would do with my wife is my thing. But we still could be one in Christ. So when we think about one flesh, we really got to understand that's spiritual. It's mental. It's not physical.
Hey, James, you and I work together a lot. You want to start calling ourselves a one flesh?
Next question.
That's what I thought.
So my question is about the 10 virgins. So IP said those are bridesmaids.
Yeah, they
and
are.
you said they're brides. And so I just want to know, if someone's polygamous, what kind of dude is marrying 10 women on the same night? Is he trying to save money for the wedding? Is it like a 10 for 10 for 1 special or something? Or
Yeah, the scholars are pretty unanimous on these. These are bridesmaids. Those are the ones that carry the lamp in, and it's because Christ is marrying the church. We're not individually the brides of Christ. You might look cute in that dress, but I'm not going to be an individual bride of Christ. The church is the bride of Christ.
Yeah,
we're
church,
attendants.
the verse doesn't say bridesmaids; it says 10 virgins.
That's what the context shows. Is what my point is.
And I think, the context is about us being representative of the virgins and making sure your lamps stay up.
Yeah.
The point of bringing that up is that he's likening a man that would be marrying 10 women to the kingdom of heaven. That's the point. So if it's something unlawful, why would he make something like that in reference to the kingdom of heaven? Because kingdom of heaven is something so great.
At the end of the day, it's a parable. He compares
I
the
agree
kingdom
with
of
it's
heaven
a
to
parable.
a
He's
mustard
using-
seed. That doesn't
he's
mean we
using a
lobotomize
man,
ourselves and become vegetables.
But he's using a man marrying 10 women.
It's not
likening
marrying.
that
I'm
to the
telling you,
kingdom
he's
of
not
heaven
marrying the
ain't
10
that
women in the
bad.
parable.
If you can get 10 women to marry you, you would call that the kingdom of heaven too.
No, I would not. I'm not. No. I'm happy dealing with one time of the month. Thank you very much. I'm good. Sorry, ladies. I can't help it.
Ready for you.
All right, this question is for Mike.
Awesome.
So, all right, yes. Got to have one for you here, and it's not a softball. Okay.
All right.
You repeatedly said Leviticus 18:18 is case closed.
Yep.
Is it possible you're overstating the certainty and relying too heavily on an idiomatic interpretation of Leviticus 18:18 when other idiomatic uses of the phrase in other scriptures, like the ones you were citing, have plural nominatives and a plural verb, making the action reciprocal?
Okay.
Leviticus 18:18 does not have those things. And further, then, there's not the plurals like that. Further, ancient interpreters, most notably Onkelos, translator of the Aramaic Targum, that Babylonian rabbis of the time treated as authoritative translation, they rely very heavily on it, but other ancient translators too, but especially Onkelos, translated all the other phrases you're talking about as an idiom except that one.
Yeah, exactly.
He did not. He translated it literal.
So let me respond now. Okay, so the problem is that doesn't just changing it to plural doesn't change the actual meaning of the phrase, as Richard Davidson points out in his book Flame of Yahweh, for example. And you could go to the Qumran community, the Dead Sea Scrolls. They understood it as outlawing polygamy. So yeah, you can go to some Talmudic rabbis, but I can go to other ones, modern scholars and ancient writers that would agree with me as well. So just appealing to them doesn't change the point.
Then to follow that up then, since it's split, are you relying too heavily on saying it's case closed?
No, here's why.
Okay.
Because once again, to defeat the challenge, just find a place that means literal sisters. And if you're just going to keep appealing to that verse, it's circular reasoning. You're assuming the conclusion,
you're
sir.
repeatedly appealing to that verse.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's case closed, but there can be the situation that is the example. If that's the only place in the Bible that it's in that situation.
Are you going to let me respond?
Okay.
Okay, so
It is.
once again, if you go, well, the example is Leviticus 18:18. That's what's on trial. That's what's in question here. So if you're going to actually respond to this, show me a place it doesn't, because you actually need a case. All you're doing is using circular reasoning, sir. No. You're going right back to the verse and going, well, no, it does, because I said so. I'm saying the phrase is always used to mean one another, even if it's used plural. Doesn't change the point. Yes, it is.
Okay, the point is what I said. You're flipping it. I said the other instances are used plural.
So?
That does not, this instant does not have. I'm talking from logos, from scholarly things. This is other scholarly evidence. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm asking, is it's not case closed?
It is.
Okay, you're free to say that.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
All right, 2 more questions. Come on up.
So this is for Captain, but also Mike, you can respond if you want. All right, you're just okay. So you acknowledge God puts limitations and regulations on polygamy, but I think the specific types of limitations are important because he specifically limits the practice, and we see him doing it with like divorce and treatment of women and slaves and all these different things. All the things he's putting limitations on for you can only do it certain much. Those are things that God seems to dislike, especially in the New Testament, but also in the prophets. So it seems to be not that he's promoting polygamy, but that he's allowing it due to the hardness of our hearts. So how do you get that God is promoting it from those passages that are regulating it?
Because he is regulating it. I don't look at it like I don't look at God as if he's telling you how many get, not to get. He just gives you one warning. Don't multiply to yourself that it turn your heart away. That's God's concern. That's why I brought up the point about Ezekiel's wife. He only had one wife, but she turned his heart away. She died. But David, outside of Bathsheba, he was fine. Jacob was fine. I won't use David. That's a horrible example. But Jacob was okay. I think the prophet, was it the prophet Samuel? I'm not sure. But so you'll see that other men didn't have that problem. So we have examples of where it was all right. You have examples where it was bad. And so I think the most important thing we're supposed to take away is no matter how many women you get, they cannot turn your heart away from the Most High. That's how God wants it.
Ready for your last question of the night.
Mike, if you had multiple wives and those multiple wives made it so that you couldn't confess that Jesus was the Most High God, could you say that your heart was turned away from God?
Yeah, the wives would have turned me away if they're making me say that, yeah.
Let's give them one final round of applause. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, Cap, thank you for stepping in.
Yeah, definitely, man. I loved it. Y'all got to bring me back where I can come back, right?
That'd be amazing. Thanks so much. Elle, did you have any? All right. Well, a couple last notes from Elle.
Thank you each again for being here tonight. Huge round of applause if you think the Seek and Share Truth Conferences are going amazing. We really appreciate you, and thank you each for being a part of that. Be sure, if you can, be back here again tomorrow because Dr. James Coons of Modern Day Debate is bringing you guys even more epic debates. We've got Jake Broncatella versus Dr. David Wood, and that's going to be epic, so you do not want to miss it. Come for free dinner and free debates. Can't beat that, I don't think, as we seek and share truth. And Eric has something he'd like to add, but you can check out seekandsharetruth.org to find more information out about that.
Yeah, the pastor here wanted me to let you guys know that they do have 2 services. They are marked on the bulletin for you guys to attend if you so want. Additionally, if anyone wants to, I will be doing interviews over there for a YouTube video just for you guys, just what your thoughts were of the conference, just in 2 sentences. It'd be easy for you. Go and put that together. If you're interested in it, meet me out there afterwards.
And with that, let's close in prayer. Lord God, thank you so much for who you are and that you are the way and the truth. And God, I pray that your truth is continued to be revealed, that deception is continued to be shattered. God, I pray for clarity out of confusion. And thank you so much for these opportunities to gather together and seek you. So may your glory be had, and in you the Father, you the Son, you the Spirit. Amen.